Is this any better, guys? I have plenty of bandwidth, which is so frustrating. Running a speed test here in the background just to make sure everything's working. I'm faster than Elon Musk's Starlink right now. That's what my connection says. But for some reason, YouTube is not playing nicely. So we've lowered the quality just a little bit. Gonna kill that there. Let you guys come back in. Mermaid Lagoon, much better. Is the picture all right? Is that tolerable? Hopefully this will be much better. It's about a quarter of the quality of what we had before. But yeah. Man, that's frustrating. We ran 2 full days of streaming. 2 full days of streaming all day, 9-hour shows, and didn't run into this problem the other day. So all right. Well, let's go ahead and get back to where we were. This is the witness that Mr. Brooks was questioning. And you can tell he's a little bit of a hostile witness.
Description
right?
you provided that night.
I said that the individual was either black, mixed, or Latino.
So it would be fair to say you didn't know at the time.
I was giving a general description.
So it would be fair to say that you weren't sure.
I was positive that.
I was positive it was you. I love this
I was positive it was you.
Got him.
Who is you?
You. I'm looking at you.
What do you say to that?
And how did you come to that conclusion, the you conclusion?
I'm looking at you.
How did you come to that conclusion? Did you?
What conclusion? Can you restate the question?
You're saying that you gave
Patty,
a description.
Welcome. We're just going over some of the highlights.
The non-emergency phone line, correct?
I've got 7 or 8 highlights I want to show.
So it would be fair to say at that time you had no name or knowledge of who the person was in your backyard. Would that be fair to say?
I had no idea who you were.
Love these responses.
So how can you say how can you say you then if you had no idea?
I'm looking at you. You were the guy.
And how did you come to that conclusion?
Listen to how close he says he was.
You and I were standing in the same yard looking at each other.
So is it possible you saw something on the news?
No, I had no idea who you were.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Do you recall giving a description of approximately 5'9" and 160 pounds?
Yeah, that's like 10 pounds heavier than Darrell is.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, or would that be accurate?
I didn't have a tape measure out. It was just a guesstimate.
Would it be fair to say that since you keep identifying me as you, would it be fair to say that I'm not 5'9" nor 160 pounds?
He's
Do you have
5'8".
shoes on or off right now?
Would it be fair to say that I'm not 5'9" and 160 pounds?
If you take your shoes off and step out of them, they could have a better.
I'm not going to have them do that, but if you're able to answer the
Because
question.
he's shackled.
Do you agree?
I'd
or
have to be
disagree?
standing next to him. That's what I made my judgment from. We were about 2 feet from each other.
Does it
Did you
look
hear
like
that?
I'm 5'9"?
I don't know. We were a lot closer.
Does it look like I'm 160 pounds?
Objection.
Grounds?
Irrelevant.
Okay. So the jury or the prosecution finally cuts him off and says, hey, we're not gonna go there, right? But it's so hilarious to say, how do you recognize, if you didn't know my name, how do you know it was me? The guy's like, well, I'm looking at you, and it was you. We were 2 feet apart. Oh man, that was hilarious. I love that one. We've got him. That was one of the state's witnesses, right? And the state witnesses you'd expect to give testimony that is contrary to to what Darrell wants out there. But the hilarious part of this is when Darrell calls his witnesses, they sound exactly like state witnesses. everything they testify to is that it was him that did it, and they saw him, and that's their recollection. And it's like, why would you call these guys just to put the extra nail in your coffin? It's crazy here. Let's see what we have next. This is, I think this is a face-off with the judge, is what I called this one. So let's bring this one up here.
Nobody got to answer no questions.
Mr. Brooks, please refrain from interrupting. You'll have an opportunity to ask your
I have an
questions
objection
on
of
cross.
how stuff got to the table without my knowledge. That should be known. That should at least be noted for the record.
It was
I wouldn't
noted
be able to do that.
Your objection's noted. It's overruled. Go ahead, Attorney Hoffman.
So that needs to stop happening.
In
It needs
addition
be
to
fair.
the hat,
All right, I'm going to excuse the jury.
Jury, once again, they have walked miles into and back out of
without
the courtroom.
a fair trial. That's my right. You shouldn't be able to do things without my knowledge. And then pass it off to the jury like that's fair.
The jury's still
They deserve to know
there,
that too.
just like subject matter jurisdiction. For having his face covered, you sure can see a lot of his emotions. He's slamming his papers
Have a
down.
seat as well. As soon as the jury's out, I'll make a record.
Okay, so you see that look? He's locked eyes on the judge,
All right,
and
Mr.
he
Brooks,
does not
you are well
blink.
aware that the reason
consent to being called
documents
that
are
name.
being put on the
I don't consent
witness
to being
stand
called that name.
are because this court indicated it would limit the movement of the parties due to your custodial status to keep things fair.
And I
You are
merely asked, how did
attempting-
it get there?
Sir, do not
I'm not
interrupt
enti-
me, or
I'm
you will
not
forfeit your
entitled
right
to
to be
know how I got
present
there?
in this courtroom.
So
Do
you
not
holding me in
interrupt
contempt?
me.
Are you holding me in contempt?
She's like,
I'm gonna make a
should
record.
Should I?
Are you holding me in contempt?
I'm not answering your questions.
So then you're not holding me in contempt.
Do not interrupt me again, or you will go to the other courtroom.
Under what lawful law?
All right, he's interrupted me once again. We're gonna clear the courtroom. He's being disrespectful. I'll
Unless-
make a record once he moves. Unless you can promise me right now
So
that you
she's
let me
threatening
make my
her.
record
It's a
without
bluff.
you interrupting me, sir.
You gonna make your record? You can make your record.
Then please don't interrupt me.
Don't hold me in contempt.
I've never said any such thing.
Removing me from the courtroom, Your Honor, is essentially holding me in contempt.
All right, no, you're forfeiting your right to be present under Illinois versus Allen.
I didn't forfeit
I
anything.
will, I'm gonna start talking, and if he interrupts, then I will close this courtroom, and he will be taken to the next courtroom. Mr. Brooks, you are well aware that the court made some pretrial rulings related to whether there would be, they can stay in, I haven't closed it yet, he's
So,
not interrupting me.
As
Whether
she's talking
the
here, she's
parties
talking about the
can
pretrial rulings
approach the
about
witness stand. And I
about
did that because
she
you're
said
in custody,
because you're
I'm not
shackled,
gonna allow
it wouldn't be
you
fair to have
to
them be able to
witness
walk
stand
around
while
and you
in
have to
custody.
stand still. So she's
That
ordered
is
the
why,
prosecution to stand still
various
and
precautions
hand everything to the bailiff from the bench. Just to
to
make it fair.
limit
She's literally,
the
everything
access
she's doing is trying to benefit Mr. Brooks and his image in the eyes of the jury in the courtroom. But still, she's everything she does, he protests. He has to take the opposite position of anything she wants to do. So just following your, I preferred his face with the mask on. So they're going to start talking eventually about the pretrial ruling about his prior convictions. And this comes up initially, it comes up a couple times, but it comes up and it has to do with a witness who's called on the stand to testify, and that witness had like 7 prior convictions. And that when they brought it up, because he was called to testify, they have to say, talk about his background. And they said, "Have you been convicted before?" And she said, "Your answer should be yes." She told him, not coached him, but told him what the answer should be as she made a legal determination. And how many times? And 7. But the guy was awesome, was a great witness. That comes up because the judge is trying very hard to prevent Mr. Brooks from inadvertently letting his own criminal record be introduced into court. But as she's doing all this, he just keeps interrupting, causing problems, everything. He thinks it's not fair. He wants to be able to say whatever he wants to say and not cause problems. So she's going off here, and eventually she's going to start listing every single time he's
You
interrupted.
forfeit your right to be present at any point in time during this trial by your conduct under Illinois versus Allen. When it is disruptive, when it does not follow the simple rules of courtesy and decorum, I draw your attention once again to SCR Chapter 62, which has been previously provided to you, which is under the statute there. These constant mumbling and interruptions.
Here we go. This is the list. You guys keep count here with me and tell me how many you hear. Ready? Ready? Here we go.
9:01, then there was 5 at 9:02, 3 at 9:03, 4 at 9:04, 1 at 9:05, 2 at 9:05, 1 at 9:06, 3 at 9:08, again at 9:17, 9:27, 10:31, 1:05. There was talking over by you at 2:03, 5 interruptions at 2:14, 2:15, 2:17, at 2:19, audible muttering, 2:31, 2:33, what I would describe as inappropriate, like muttering under your breath, 2:35. At 3:06, there was the hilarious comment. At 3:11, there was what I would describe as arguing about the muttering and the irony of it all. At 3:12, there were 4 interruptions. At 3:37, more 4:09, 4:10, more mumbling. At 4:11, twice, and at 4:12, 9 different times.
Okay.
So
did you hear that?
I think I've made an
At
ample
4:12
record of the disruptions
in the
today.
minutes,
I've been abundantly
4 o'clock and
patient
12 minutes after
with
4,
you.
he interrupted
I,
9
again, as I
times
stated
during that
earlier,
minute.
I've even limited how
Okay,
I
I counted
allow these
54.
things to
Is that how
be
many you guys got?
disregard, and I simply
Hey,
say
PG,
that
welcome.
there is
Welcome
to
back. Sorry I
disregard
didn't see you come in the room.
comments and statements made
We're
by
just
the
going over
parties
some of the
and
highlights.
lawyers, as those are not evidence. So I'm warning you, do not interrupt again if this jury comes back. or when
I've
they
grabbed a
come
couple of the
back and
highlight
do that,
videos
then,
from the case.
you will be
Most of it's from this
removed.
week.
You
We've
will
got a little
forfeit
bit from
your right to be
before,
present
just for people who
for
might have
the
missed
examination of
what
the
happened when he was.
Bring the jury back in.
Well, you might as well remove me then, because what you're doing is not fair. I can't even rebut what you're saying. I didn't interrupt.
He thinks he
you. I
has
let
the
you
right
make
to
your
say what he
incorrect
wants in
record.
court.
Mr. Brooks, I'm bringing the jury out and we're continuing. We're going to get through these witnesses.
And I'm not stopping you
Through
from
your
doing that.
behavior, you're not going to delay these proceedings today.
I'm not
We're
trying to
gonna
delay the
continue.
proceedings, so I wish you would stop being incorrect on the record and saying what I'm trying to do if you don't know that. You don't know
Mr.
what
Brooks,
I'm trying to
bringing
do.
the jury out. I'm not going to argue with you.
Then
So-
don't. Because I'm not arguing with you either. I'm stating
You're
facts.
raising your voice. It's
Because
very
I'm
angry tone,
tired of you
and
always
it's
making a
yelling
record.
at me.
You're making a record of me trying to look bad. I know what you're trying to do. It's not gonna work.
I'm making a record of what's accurately
You're
being
making
done
a
in my
record of
courtroom.
incorrect statements. That's what you're doing. You're not making a record of
Mr.
not
Brooks,
being
I'm
able.
advising you to be quiet because the jury's coming back out.
You're advising me to be quiet. Is you telling
I'm
me to be
advising
quiet?
you to be respectful when the
Are
jury
you
comes
telling
out.
me to be quiet, or are you asking me?
I'm asking you and advising
Okay.
you.
Thank you for correcting that, because don't nobody tell me what to do. I don't tell nobody else what to do.
I'd appreciate
We're all
if you lower
we're all
your tone
adults
of
in here.
voice
I've
and
never
not yell at
told
me,
you to
sir.
do
Here's
anything
the
at
grown
all.
man comment. Ready?
Sir, I'd appreciate
This is
if
my
your
favorite.
tone of voice would change.
I would appreciate if you would ask me. I'm a grown man with grown kids. Ain't nobody gonna talk to me like that. Nobody. I don't have a problem with doing what you ask me to do, not tell me. Just like when I asked you about subject matter jurisdiction that you have yet to prove on the record.
The jury's walking in.
But somehow
Is it a
I'm
coincidence
being
he brings it up right
intentionally
then?
disruptive.
He literally glances
man.
over to make sure they're
Stop.
coming in before he
Stop
starts
it.
talking.
Jury's coming out.
All rise for the jury.
Not gonna work.
Okay.
I'm supposed to be scared of getting removed or something.
I'm supposed to be scared of getting removed or something. Oh man, I love that little line. I think that's about the end of the clip we've got on this one. Let's see here. Yeah, this is about the end. Okay, so that was a funny one for me. He's talking. He talks a little bit, but that's the end. There have been a couple moments during the trial. I think you guys have heard. PG says, "I'm a grown indigent man with several children." There have been several times in the trial where the I'm trying to get everything set up here while I talk. The mics have not been turned off quite in sync with the camera being pointed at the wall. And those have been some amazing, amazing audio moments. We have a little bit of audio from him, the chains dragging on the ground as he gets, forced or compelled to go into the other courtroom and locked up for that. But it just some amazing stuff. Let's see if we can get the next video here. Let me get that prepped. Sorry, it's a one-man show here, so is the stream still working right for everybody? No one's having a problem there? Okay, let me get my switcher ready for camera 3 so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. Okay, so we're going to get rid of that video. The next one we're going to go to is the paper shredder, and this is a short clip. I named it paper shredder, and you're going to see why. But before I start this clip, we've got it queued up in the feed here. But before I start this clip, we're going to talk a little bit about what he's doing. Right now, Darrell Brooks is reaching for a paper that was given to him by the judge. All along in this court case, he's been asking, he's like, you need to prove subject matter jurisdiction. You need to talk about subject matter jurisdiction. There's no authority. You haven't proven it in open court. Well, she didn't talk about it in open court. What she did is she made a ruling, and she then wrote that down. It was a written ruling, and she gave it to both parties and entered it into evidence. As part of that, she gave it to Mr. Brooks. I think she gave him several copies. This is the first time he got the copy. And every time he gets a piece of paper, he says, I accept for value and return for value, which is his way of saying this is worthless, and if I deem it not worthy of anything, then it isn't. But that's what she does. So he's reaching right now for this paper. This is a time, I don't remember if it was lunchtime or at the end of the day. I think it was lunchtime when the jury's about to be excused. And so we're going to go ahead and roll this footage here, and we'll see what happens here. Ready?
Do not comply with these rules, it could result
It's
in
end
a
of day.
new trial involving
She's reading the
additional
jury
time and
instructions.
significant expense to the parties and the taxpayers. You are to decide the case solely on the evidence offered and received at trial. With that, you are excused for the evening. We'll see you tomorrow morning. All rise for the jurors, please.
Rip. This is like Nancy Pelosi at the State of the Union address right here. Just holding up for the camera, tearing into pieces as small as you can. The first tear was a little bit messy. He's making sure the jury looks or looking at him and seeing him, rip it up. I'm surprised he didn't throw it. I really thought he was going to throw it. We don't find out until the following day in the footage that he left it in like the holding cell that he gets put in before he's moved, before he's brought into the courtroom and after he's left the jail. There's a holding cell where they keep him, and he left it in there. And so the judge, when she found out that it was left in there, she's like, "Oh, I'm going to give you another copy," because I know you ripped up the other one. But anyway, let's see. PG, they had him wearing the padded garments, yeah, weeping in court, yeah. He did that in his opening statement, which he gave right before he started his defense. Contempt is not effective in his situation. He knows it. This is true. Because he's representing himself, if he's held in contempt and basically locked up in a jail cell, it accomplishes his goal of stopping the procedures. They cannot move forward without him there. He has the right to be there, and if he can't conduct himself properly, they can remove him. But where he's his own lawyer, he's sort of got this little trump card where it's like, you can't get me. You need me here. And the judge knows it. As a matter of fact, we heard her last week say to him, Mr. Brooks, you win. I have to have you here, and so I'm gonna let you stay. And that was just hilarious. Miss Doubtfire's got a couple axe emojis in the chat. She's gonna axe me something. You have no idea how much we would love to do just that, she says. Might as well have been, don't condescend to me. Yeah, he's the ghost of he's the ghost of felonies past. Okay, we're going to talk about that. This felonies past, one of the videos, I'm going to show you, in case you missed it, I'm going to show you just a snippet of what it would look like if the door was opened. The proverbial door we're talking about is his prior convictions. If he questions a witness in a manner that they give a response that then almost compels the state to get more information on a cross. And so we're going to play that. And oh my goodness, Darrell does not like that at all. He's not a big fan. Let's see. I'm having my poor eyesight. I have to zoom in on my screen so I can see what's going on here. Okay, we've watched the paper shredder, and I think as short as it is, that's one of my favorite clips. It really is. That's a great little clip. Come on, there we go. Okay, so next we're going to play That's Not My Name. And this is backing up a little bit, but it sort of goes to one of the earlier, well, I think it's sort of the mid times. It's one of the most clear times when he's complaining about being called Darrell Brooks. And so in doing this, let's switch to there. In doing this, he's going to just bring up the same phrase he says over and over, that he doesn't agree to be called by Darrell Brooks. This is all based off his big complaint. His big complaint about this is that the paperwork, the official docket sheet for this case lists in big, bold, capital letters Wisconsin, W-I, versus Darrell Brooks, and his name is all capitals. And he says, that's not my name. I don't write it in capitals, so that's not my name. So clearly this whole case needs to be thrown out because my name is not in capitals. But anyway, so he's going to start and address that here.
Court will call State of Wisconsin versus Darrell E. Brooks, case number 21 CF 1848. May I have the appearances, please?
Yes, good morning, Judge. Sue Apple, Leslie Basie, and Zach Witchow appearing
Sue,
for the
Leslie,
State of
and
Wisconsin.
Zach are the three heroes on the
Good morning, sir.
prosecution
Please
bench.
state your name for the record.
I'm here as a third-party intervener in that matter, appearing as authorized representative for my client. I accept for value and return for value all of the charging instruments in this matter and make my exemption available for discharge of all obligations and charges connected with this case. I do not dispute any of the facts in these charging instruments, and I do not consent to or
Watch how the
agree to
judge
any
handles
part
this.
of that, Your Honor.
All right, the record should reflect that the individual known to this court as Darrell Brooks is appearing in person in custody. He is also in civilian or street clothing, in a suit and tie, also wearing a mask.
Okay, so she's like, we know you're Darrell, right? We know who you are. And he continues to protest. And basically, anytime he's not getting his way in court, when things aren't going the way he wants, he brings that up again. He says, I don't consent to being called that name, so you can't call me that. Which, it hasn't stopped anybody yet. He's storming the Capitals. PG. I love your sense of humor. The stream is running fine. I am keeping an eye on it as the data rate's bouncing up a little bit. I think the neighbors are doing something illegal on the internet. That's what I think it is. I'll probably have to report them in all capitals to the police. So let's see. Thanks for explaining what value for value means. Not a problem. If you have any other questions about some of the things he's saying, I'd love to explain it. Sometimes I forget what I have explained and what I haven't. And so if I haven't explained it to you, or if you'd like to have an explanation, I can. The sovereign citizen argument is the basis for a lot of what he says. It's basically the I am my own man, and that no one can control me unless I say they can control me. It's an argument that's often used by individuals who want to live in a country but not pay taxes in that country. And they have a lot of years in jail to think about it. Usually, it doesn't tend to go well for them. I haven't had a lot of people that are. I haven't found a lot of cases where someone has used this claim that they are sovereign and thus not beholden to any laws, where it actually worked for them. Although in some police interactions, just on the side of the street, police have discretion, and sometimes they'll let somebody go on a speeding ticket when they're doing the whole sovereign citizen thing. Just, it's like, it's not worth the headache and the hassle to write you a ticket for 5 over because you refuse to identify yourself to an officer because you don't recognize my authority. And other times they'll arrest him, throw him in jail. So anyway, what was, let's see, we've got a couple questions here I want to answer here, make sure I don't miss any. We got the capitals, we got value for value. Kyle Rittenhouse was found innocent 2 days before DB ran over all those people. Holy cow. Was it that close? I didn't put those two together. Okay. Wow. PG Farber, you just gave away my password for my Wi-Fi. So we expect the stream to crash again it is FBI surveillance van. So you guys, I guess, if you drive by wherever I am, you can jump on my Wi-Fi and crash my stream. Deborah, what was that part of DB's motivation? His motivation, we have not heard him address yet. He successfully failed to answer any question about motivation and why he did what he did in his interrogations when he was arrested. He has not presented anything during his opening statement or in any evidence thus far on his defense as to his motivation. Although we have a couple lines of questioning, we can guess at what he wants to hint at. He's talked a lot about the tint in the windows, and even though the windows were down, I guess the tint either blocked his view or might be a factor in him trying to say there were other people in the vehicle. That has been some testimony he's been trying to get from other people, from some of his witnesses, people who said they thought there must have been other people in the car. But the testimony sort of flopped when they said, we just thought that because when we saw the car parked after it was all crashed, there were people standing around, and I thought they must have been in the car. Nobody has said they saw anyone other than him in the car, and nobody else. So that's one of the things. One of the points he's been raising as well. Let's see, is sort of hinting towards that he was in some form of distress, that something was going on, whether it was medical, possibly mental. We just have to guess right now, but there was something going on as to his mind state. But we're gathering most of that from what we've heard from his mom, which, according to what Darrell says, we will have her as a witness tomorrow or Monday morning. So that's going to be incredible. He's not going to subpoena his mom. He said in court on Friday, if I ask her to be here, she's going to be here. And so no subpoena. She'll show up of her own free will. And then when she's there, she is on the list. The state had subpoenaed her previously, but had not called her to testify. So they're prepared to talk to her. They know what she's going to say for the most part. And anything Darrell thinks he's going to get out of her is probably going to be pulled apart by the prosecution. Anyway, so that's what we're expecting on Monday. In addition to possibly, I got my fingers crossed, possibly hearing from Darrell as he testifies in his own defense, which would be, from what I've heard the judge say, it would basically be the prosecution questioning him, and I don't know how they would do it. If they would let him sort of free spool a little bit. And just talk about what he wants to and explain from start to finish how he remembers it or doesn't remember it happening, whatever the case may be. But anyway, that's password exhibity. That was the other password, PG, and we changed it from that. Let's see. I missed a couple things. We agree about contempt. That's right. We can't do that. Although the judge did read at one point the options, and one of the options is to have him gagged. And I'm wondering if after the jury makes their finding and they have victim statements prior to sentencing, I wonder if she'll go that route, where it no longer will have an impact, where she now can exercise full control without depriving him of any rights, but she can exercise and command that decorum in the courtroom. I wonder if she's going to have him gagged for the victim statements and force him to be there. Interesting. Anyway, that's just some things I've been thinking of. I'm not sure if she will. She's proved that she's very patient. I mean, she is the patron saint of patience. She has achieved sainthood, I think, 3 times. Her soul left her body. Those are the 3 miracles that you heard the sigh when she died from sheer exasperation of Darrell's behavior. And so she's performed her 3 miracles. I think she is a saint. Anyway, so she is super, super patient. I don't think she's going to lose her temper in the last minute, but I think she may have him gagged especially if he starts mouthing off during victim statements. I think that's the most likely situation where that could occur, and that would probably be very interesting to watch. Let's see. Successful. I'm going to say this word right, PG. A successful fail is the only success this guy has. Ashley says, can you be arrested and charged for not giving your name, etc. in the U.S.? You can here in the U.K. Ashley, I've got to say one thing, which I say at the beginning of most of my streams, and we had a couple technical issues, so I want to say it again now. I'm not giving any legal advice. The law does change from state to state and country to country. There are some states where they can stop and identify you just because they want to, and there are other states where they have to have probable cause or reasonable suspicion type situations to get that. So you'll have to look up the laws where you are. Obviously in the UK, you've got some knowledge about that. I don't know in Wisconsin's case what they have, but that isn't really at issue here, because when Darrell was arrested, as soon as the police officers made contact with him at gunpoint and had him on the ground in cuffs, he identified himself twice. There was never any point where he refused to identify himself until he entered the courtroom. So that's how it went there. Let's see, November 19th on Kyle Rittenhouse, and now the 21st for the parade incident. I didn't realize they were that close together. That is amazing. We actually have, obviously we're not going to go back and look at the Kyle Rittenhouse case, but we do have a couple cases coming up that I'm looking at possibly doing some live streaming on. But I want to choose cases that don't shed more light and harm on individuals that were, that were hurt. So anyway, I'll maybe talk about it a little bit later about which cases I'm looking at. There's a retrial coming up for a lady who's convicted of killing her infant children. And she successfully argued that she had inadequate defense, although she was represented. And so we'll look at that. Depending on the schedule, we've got some other things coming up. Let's see. So Ashley, we got that. Tina, thanks for that information on Kyle. Mermaid says, I worry that the prosecution, has not completely proven intent or motive, which is part of the charge for first-degree murder. Okay, so I don't know. Let's see, the charge they've got 6 charges of intentional manslaughter. You're worried about the intent. I'm thinking about that. I think they've addressed it. I'm not sure if in the jury's mind, if they've proven that intent or not too. So I'll have to go back and think through the testimony we've had. There are a lot of people who testified to him looking at them or looking directly at them, making eye contact. He's purposefully gripping the steering wheel, his acceleration, possibly even the horn honking at the beginning, the waving of his hand, trying to get people to move so he could drive. That's at least the interpretation I got on that. Intent and motive. Who asked that? Oh, my wife asked, what's the difference between intent and motive? Intent means he meant to do it, right? And motive is sort of like the why. So they haven't proven motive, but they have proven intent. Is what my wife judge says. She's not actually a judge, but she's very, very smart and very pretty. Let's see. Where are we at? A successful fail. We're going to play another video here in just a minute. Did we play this one? We haven't played. Which one do we have right here? Okay, we'll get to this in just a minute. Let me catch up on these questions. Let's see. I worry that the prosecution, we talked about that one. Peter, welcome, Peter. I don't think that Brooks is a true believer, Sov Sit, referring to the sovereign citizen. He has obviously been exposed to the concept within the last year and just cherry picks some of the word salad mumbo jumbo when it suits him. I love that word salad definition. I agree. It's his arguments that he makes against the wrongs he feels contradict themselves. And to bring that up for an example of what I'm trying to say there is, in one case earlier this week, he held up 3 copies of the judge's oath of office, her oath to swear to defend the Constitution. This oath, these are the documents that basically are on file that legitimize the judge, that grant her the authority to act as a judge. And so he's holding these up saying, you have to do this, which is sort of implying that he recognizes that she has the authority, and then at the same time saying, you haven't proven subject matter jurisdiction, that you have any authority. What kind of court is this anyway? Is this a civil court? Is this, so his arguments contradict themselves. It doesn't seem to be rooted, as you say, Peter, in a solid belief in the sovereign citizen idea. So after Peter, who do we have? Let's see. Where did we go? Okay, music is life. Thanks for coming back, music. By the way, I appreciate the sticking through the technical difficulties. Do you think this trial will end this upcoming week? Yes, I do. I think I'll tell you that on Monday, I think the defense will rest or will be arrested. He was already arrested, but he basically only has 2 other witnesses, unless he makes gives notice to the court that he plans on calling more witnesses and has subpoenas issued. It's basically his mom and him. And I know Darrell can talk for a long time, because we saw earlier this week where he talked for 50 minutes about all the wrongs he feels that have happened to him and completely ignored the issues of the case. But so he can talk for a while, but I doubt he can go for several hours without the judge saying, look, unless you have something new to say, you've got to wrap this up. Under 806.11, I'm going to order you to move on to the next topic or be done. She uses that 806.11 a lot. Okay, so I do think it will wrap up this coming week. And what happens when it wraps up? There will be, I think they'll probably, depending on the time of day, there's going to be a hard break and jury instructions. Obviously, it's earlier in the day. They'll give the jury instructions. They'll go, dismiss the jury, and they'll go deliberate. The jury is going to deliberate for as long as they choose. I don't think it will be long. I just gut feel, I think this might be an open and shut case. It's just because there's been so little evidence produced to support any defense argument, which there really hasn't been a defense argument. So as long as the jury feels they've proven each element of the charges, I think it'll be pretty quick. But when the jury comes back, they're going to provide their finding to the judge. If it's unanimous and conviction, the judge will read it first, and then she'll have the jury read it. The jury foreman will read it and say, we find him on these counts, either guilty or not guilty. I personally believe they're going to go guilty. And then there will be a sentencing phase, and the sentencing phase in Wisconsin is presided over by the judge. So that phase, I believe, is where the victim statements will be appropriate. I think there's a chance for, if I remember correctly, there's a chance for him to basically apologize, and I don't know how that will go. But anyway, I also think that if it happens, that's when the gagging will happen. Okay, so Monday is going to be the big day. You don't want to miss it. If you haven't already, schedule a sick day, call in sick. I'm going to be live streaming that. We're going to be talking about it and sharing that on an uninterrupted live stream throughout the proceedings all morning. You think Grace and Peace says he's going to throw his mother under the bus. This is a possibility. We do know from the interviews the mother has given to the news media that she thinks her son is mentally ill, or that he's mentally ill, and that's why he behaves the way he does. She also believes her son did it. She feels sorrow for that. She says she's talked to her son about all the families that are hurt and everything, and they've felt bad together. Although I've never seen him feel bad for the families, other than a few moments where he says he's emotional about something. But I really can't pin that on an emotion that I could say is the sorrow for the families and their loss. Anyway, so the mom is going to have probably the best defense argument out there, and that's that he's mentally ill and not able to either recollect or understand. I think in one of her interviews she said that he doesn't know what happened. He's almost like it was a blackout type thing, which is hard to believe in light of all the testimony we've received about him being alert and focused and eyes wide open and swerving and driving and manipulating down there and dodging and accelerating. There's lots of things you have to not believe to believe that he had like a medical condition that blackout type situation. Anyway, PG Farber is giving away my Wi-Fi password, so just hit him up if you want that. So thank you. What's that? Oh, her. PG, I call you a him every time. For some reason, PG Farber is a him in my mind, and PG is actually the only participant who's actually called into the show and talked on the show. And I'm not going to release the phone number tonight just because it's late and I don't have the right plug set up to let you call in. But we might do that on Monday, especially if there's a pause or if they go into deliberation. I'll share a Google Voice number, and those of you who want to, answer a question or ask a question or talk briefly, if you can, control yourself and keep it family friendly, we'll let you jump on here a little bit then. Let's see. Unless something unusual happens, I believe this will become the end coming in this coming week. Yes, I agree, Patty. I wonder if they will allow the jury to choose lesser charges like reckless homicide with a vehicle that don't require intent to be proven. I don't know, because the 6 charges, the 6 intentional manslaughter charges, have the aggravating factor of with a deadly vehicle, and this is amazing. There's one point, and I think it might be this. Let me play a video. There's a point where oh no, I already played it. Never mind. I'm just going to tell you what happens. In the pretrial, when Darrell is asking to represent himself, the judge is walking through everything, making sure he understands what the situation is. And she says, "Do you understand what you're facing? Do you understand how serious this is?" type of thing. And she breaks down all the charges and says, let me spell it out here. She says, basically, do you know, and she breaks it into pieces, but she says, do you know that if convicted on all these charges, you could be sentenced to 1,231 years consecutively in jail? 1,231 years. That's how long, if he gets found guilty and receives the maximum sentence on each charge, that's how long he'd be in jail, which I believe is life plus a little bit. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a math guy. I'm not a math boy. Yeah, some of you got that reference. Let's see here. So I don't know if they'll allow those charges to be the jury to find lesser charges. We'll have to listen to the jury instructions, and I think the jury instructions, you guys, get some caffeine or something to sit through those. I think the judge has said she has 72 pages of jury instructions, and that's 14-point font. So it's going to be long. We'll have to listen carefully and see what's in there. Ashley, Monday's going to be a big day. Yes, please be there. Please hit a like on this channel and subscribe if you want, just for that. Even just for the day, you can leave after Monday if you want, but I'd love to have you guys all out there on Monday. Okay, Patty, thanks for saying please hit the thumbs up button. Appreciate that. Deborah, is the judge going to be lenient with him? I think the judge has been very lenient in what she allows him to do. What? Oh, is the judge being too lenient with him? My wife is correcting me because I can't read, apparently. Is the judge being too lenient with him? I can say I don't think I could be as patient as she has been. But at the same time, I think her sole focus, and she's good at this. She's been a judge since 2011. Before that, she was an assistant district attorney. She has a lot of courtroom experience and legal experience, and I think her sole focus is primarily to A, preserve the rights and follow the rules, and B, prevent a situation where the defendant can say, a call for dismissal because of XYZ. And so I think she's erring on the side of leniency to prevent any situation where he would have grounds for dismissal of something. New password from PG Farber. Thank you. Man, it's going so fast. Holy cow! You guys are talking like crazy. Okay, I'm way behind. We're going to have to go fast. Mermaid Lagoon. Today is supposed to be the closing arguments, or Tuesday is supposed to be closing arguments if his mom and him do not testify. She hasn't said how long each side will get, but I expect a swift verdict. Yes, she's also sort of hinted that the defense or the prosecution, who will go first in the closing arguments, should be ready possibly on Monday if needed. So we'll see if it's going to be Monday or Tuesday for closings. How can he cross-examine himself? Great question. I think it will be hilarious if he does, especially in the way he has to talk in third person. about everything. I think he'll trip even himself up on that. I expect the verdict to be quick, but the jury do have like 70 charges to go through. Yeah, it's most of the time will just be paperwork, filling things out. The judge is too lenient, says Deborah. Right, that's what we got. PG, and she hasn't cracked up laughing and whipped out a blender to whip up some daiquiris either. No, there was one point where she smiled, and I think let's play a video. I think it's this next one because it's the do you think this is funny? That quote. We're going to get to that one. So let me zip through a couple questions here, and then we'll start the next video. I found her admission that he scared her totally unprofessional. Okay, great question or great point, Deborah. That was not in the presence of the jury. That's an important point to note, is that when she said, the glaring has to stop because, she's scared. So that I don't believe the jury saw that. So it couldn't prejudice the decision of the jury, but it did betray personal feelings. And when she came back, she entered a comment on the record. So I think she also maybe thought that may have approached a line. I don't know if it crossed it, if it's grounds for something, but interesting point. Okay. Wonder if his mother is actually going to show up on Monday. Yes, I think she will. I really think she will. The mother loves her son to death, as most moms do, and I think she'll be there for him. And it's going to be heartbreaking because she does feel the pain of all the victims, and she wasn't the one that did it. She's got this guilt by association type thing going on, where actually she said on the news that she feels guilty. She's like, if I had done something different as a mother, this wouldn't have happened. And it's heartbreaking that she feels that, but it's breaking her. It really is. Music is life. He does not seem to be remorseful for any of his harmful deeds. He doesn't even seem to be Darrell Brooks. That we can't get past that point. We have to first know who he is, or at least have him accept the fact that he is who he is before we can see if he's remorseful. Patty's home. I believe the judge needed to be putting scared on the record. Okay, yeah, I think that might be the case. But Your Honor, I beeps my horn to tell them to get out of the way. There was a lot of that. The testimony about the beeping, it seemed, for me at least, that the prosecution emphasized from all their witnesses that there was no honking, but most of their witnesses were along the parade route. Darrell's witnesses primarily have been at the beginning of the parade route, and several of them, at least two I can think of off the top of my head, said there was honking. So there may have been honking at the beginning of the parade route before he accelerated through the crowd. Is this Maritime Court? Yes, Milwaukee. You've got the Great Lakes, right? So those rules apply. Mermaid says, DB, if there's a beep beep, I must go free. Liz D, welcome, Liz. All soft sits can talk forever. It's the one skill they have. Yes, and it's a circular logic. It's a circular thought process. So any time that they get blocked, they move to the next one, and it goes in a full circle. And there's unless you accept their logic, their foundation of their logic, there's no beating them in a conversation. 906.11, yes. Jury deliberation, 30 seconds. Miss L, thanks for that. Kanye Brooks, I'm going to let you finish. But first, it's not 9, it's 8. Says Tina, do you think they will bother to walk out of the courtroom? They've done too much trudging already. PG, the jury's like, just give us the paperwork. We're ready for that now. We just need to sign the bottom. We're all good. Liz says he'll never apologize, and it's a classic malignant narcissist. Creative Resumes says, I like that name, by the way, mostly because I have one. Do you think that he's acting extra to try to publicize his case with hopes of bringing on highly reputable counsel for an appeal? Yes. I think there are who is Casey Anthony's attorney? Somebody put it in chat, and it'll come to me as soon as you type it. But there are attorneys that will pick up these high-profile cases that have no chance of winning on the evidence, and take it because of the technicalities to try to get someone off. But I think they do that because it basically is a huge resume boost for them, and they get to command primo prices because extremely guilty people will pay a lot of money to go free. Okay, thanks, 1138. Welcome. This judge's behavior is egregious. Sorry. She is allowing this monster to continue to traumatize the community. You know, it's painful, but at the same time, I see why she's doing what she's doing. She can't bypass a lot of these procedures because he has rights. He is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, and that proven, although many of us might say it's proven to me, you know, I've seen the evidence I've heard. I believe that, and that proves it in my heart and my mind. But until the jury comes back with the conviction, legally he is not guilty, or has not been found guilty. So that's what we've got. Do you think the judge has handled this correctly? Is he competent? I believe he's competent, and I've shown that in a couple things, mostly because he's so quick at picking up, and his lawyering school that he's been going to here in his trial of his own defense, he's learned a lot. He's done his homework on some subjects, others he just isn't learning at all. But he's been much more eloquent, he's been much more professional, and the objections have been fewer and farther between because of how he words his questions for his witnesses. So I believe he is competent. I also do believe he has some personality disorders. Amy says he seems to want to pin it on his ex-girlfriend. Feel bad for the whole situation. What I got when I watched the testimony, I was rewatching that ex-girlfriend the testimony earlier today, and it just occurred to me that every time he questions a witness, I think Darrell thinks that witness is on trial. He's literally trying to prove that they did something wrong, and thus, you know, they're in trouble. And he doesn't try to draw the connection that it's really just their testimony in relation to what he did, which, you know, he still doesn't believe he's he. So, or who's this you of which you speak? Did you see in the pretrial motions, he said that he was Darrell Brooks, just not the capitalized one. So he did say he was who he was. Yes, and he said in his interrogations, he said it. He said it when he was arrested. I believe when he signed his motion to represent himself, it's my understanding that he signed his name Darrell Brooks, but he said by his natural name or his true name or something to that effect. But obviously, he's not a capital type guy. Is he incriminating himself when he objects to being called Darrell Brooks when the defense is replaying the crimes? Yes, in a bit. Because when someone says, I saw Darrell, he says, I object to be calling that name. That's basically saying, I'm Darrell. I don't know if he's drawn that connection yet, but I'm sure the jury has. At what phase of these final proceedings do you think will explode and burst out of the most on this court? I think it will be if he is on the stand. I have lost bet after bet. I really thought he was going to lose it earlier, and to his credit, he hasn't. I mean, by lose it, I mean like profanity rant type lose it. He obviously is restrained. He's in shackles. He says that he has electroshock, things on his ankles, which I'm not sure if that's the case. I haven't heard of that. It might just be like an electronic lock to the system, or maybe a tracking monitor in case he gets away type thing. More like a house arrest type situation. I don't think it's a shock thing on his ankles, or else the judge would have used him by now. American Heritage Dictionary, number 2 definition: the state of mind necessary for an act to constitute a crime. The second definition is important, in your humble opinion. Okay. We'll have to look at that. We'll have to see what the jury thinks if all these factors have been proven. Definition of intent is what you're talking about. Travelers Dave A. Traveler, welcome. I think that's the first time I've seen a comment here. Welcome to the chat. The judge will deal with him when she sentences him to life in prison. She putting up with a lot of BS just so she can have the pleasure. I don't think that we'll see her say, it's my pleasure to sentence you to. I don't think she'll do that. I believe the control she's shown through thus far will continue through the balance of the court. With the possible exception of, I do see the gag possibly come into play, especially at the after the conviction. Okay, Ashley. Whoa, yeah, Baez. Okay, that's how far behind I am. Cisco, thank you for giving me the name of the lawyer for Casey Anthony. But holy cow, I'm gonna have to skip some of these, and I apologize. If you got a question you want me to answer, type it in chat one more time. But I'm falling behind. There are just too many of you to keep up. Can you be charged with anything for the way, or can he be charged for anything Cherry, I'm trying to read your comment here. Sherry Michelle, can he be charged with anything for the way he's acted during court and how he scared the judge? I don't think he's reached that point. The judge, at one point, when she, I think it was on Friday, when she really cracked down on him, kicked the jury out for badgering the witness. She said it was intimidating the witness, and she corrected on the record and said, "I'm not saying that he committed the crime of intimidating the witness." So I don't know. There was I think there's a bailiff record that he threw or attempted to throw or threatened to throw his shoe at someone or at something. They have removed objects from the desk at different times, so for fear that he was going to throw them or break things, he has threatened to break things. But I don't think any of it's going to be like, oh, and we're going to add on the extra 6 months for smashing the headset type thing. Wanderjoy says his mom isn't showing up. I sadly, I think she will. I mean, I don't think she'll be subpoenaed, even though I think he filled out the subpoena but didn't provide it to them. But let's see here. Do you think the judge, Darrell, was really scared when she was getting stared down by Brooks, or was she adding to the record to paint a virtual picture? I think she was really scared. Did you see that look? Even behind the mask, just the eyes, there's no question that, in my mind, that the restraints at that point were crucial to everyone's safety. I think she had to put that on record because she can't allow it to continue. It's not appropriate in the courtroom. So something had to be said. Whether she had to go to the length to say she was scared or not, I don't know. But it was the same day that a witness testified to something basically the same, that same sort of behavior from Mr. Brooks. The state of Wisconsin's been extremely patient in this trial. Yeah, but where are they? Are they an entity? Why haven't they shown up? If you missed it, Darrell Brooks is his first witness, or I guess really his second, because his first witness was the Hispanic gentleman that needed a translator. His first witness after his opening statement, he called the state of Wisconsin. He even had tried to get the state to issue a subpoena to the state of Wisconsin, and clearly they didn't show up because they are an entity. Did they ever legally find that he was competent? Yes, there were. Okay, Sherry Michelle, that's a great question. Let me back up and tell you why. There was at one point, there was a time when there was a plea entered of not guilty by way of insanity, or a NGI, I believe they call it. For that, they do mental evaluations. So they had 4 professionals, doctor level professionals, mental health professionals that evaluated him. All 4 of them found that he was competent. 3 of them found that he, according to the judge, found that he was diagnosed him with a personality disorder, at least one personality disorder. The actual disorder, that part's been cut off. I think it's for HIPAA reasons, but you guys can speculate on that, I'm sure. Did they ever legally find out he was competent? Yes. Okay, that was the question, Sherry. His mother is an enabler. What she has for him is not love. Deborah, I don't know. I'm not going to judge the mom. All I can say is that when I heard her on the news interview, I felt bad for her. That's what I'll say. I felt bad for the situation she's in. I'm not saying she's a perfect mom, but I hate to see any mother who's given birth to a child has gone through hell to bring that child into the world, basically, and put her own life second to the child's. And so you can't really judge a mom who has gone through that for still loving their child when they do something wrong. I still love my kids when they do something wrong, mostly because I did the same as a kid. Did they ever legally find that he was competent? Yes, we answered that already. I do not feel sympathy for his mom, says Mermaid. She attempted to help him falsify evidence. I'm gonna object and say evidence not in test, or evidence not in. I can't even remember anymore. The evidence has not been submitted to the court that proves that. They talked about that. I know the prosecution has said that they have on record a phone call from the jail where Darrell was talking to his mom about getting those pictures from her, but that has not been submitted as evidence. It was sort of like as argument and saying, we have this. But until it's actually submitted as evidence and accepted, it's hard to say Why hasn't the judge held Brooks in contempt? Because it stalls the court. That's the whole reason. If she holds him in contempt, he's locked up in a jail cell, and they cannot proceed because by putting him in jail, it's locking up both the defendant and his attorney, which happens to be the same person, Mr. Darrell Brooks, lowercase Darrell Brooks. So she does not want to stop the proceedings. There's just too much tied up in it, and the jury and everything else. Let's see. Patty's home. She was also a criminal defense attorney for many years. Just FYI. That I think you're talking about the judge. Yes. And fun fact. We learned this last week. The judge has an identical twin sister. I think, and I've proposed this. I'm not saying this is a fact, but I think every time she takes a break, they just swap the robe and the other one comes out. And it's like the tag team on the WWF. It's like, look, I've had it all up, up to here. You take over for the next little bit. So that's just me though. Also, the judge has said when she was speaking at I think it was a professional women development conference there in Waukesha, she was saying that she doesn't see her career as a career. She sees it as a calling. But I think after this, she could pretty much run for governor and probably win. At the end of the day, rant was, "You didn't give my attorney assistance." Molly, I didn't follow that one, and it's probably my reading.
At the end of the day, his rant was, "Hey, you didn't give me assistance."
I still missed it. My wife clarified it for me, but in my head, I'm not following. So ask that one again if I missed that, Molly. Sorry about that. Okay, Jose Baez, or I got that one to Joy and Cisco. Thank you. Sorry, I'm going so slow. Thanks for slowing down. Okay. Let's see. He's very competent. He keeps providing it constantly. Yeah. Air Force vet. Thank you. What is OWI? Shane O'Neill, what is OWI? Operating while intoxicated? Is that what you're referring to? I think Wisconsin refers to it that way instead of a DUI. Don't quote me on that though. Yeah, operating while intoxicated. Thanks, Red Girl, for coming in with that. Total sociopath. Okay, there's one diagnosis. He knows the difference between right and wrong. He just doesn't care. It does seem that it's. I feel that, especially when you look at his opening statement and his tearful opening statement, where his right eye, the one farthest from the jury, seemed to water. It seemed to be the only one that was watering. And I know there's some Amber Brooks references there, but he seemed to be very tearful, and then immediately switched back to the unmasked. This is me. This is Darrell, the same one you've seen all along. So. Facts not in evidence. Thank you, PG. I appreciate that. I will use that objection properly in the future. Will he take the stand? Air Force vet, I've said 50-50, but he has wanted so badly to talk. He's wanted so badly to talk. Let me get our next video up because we've been sitting here forever. Sorry about that. We're going to get this up so you don't have to listen to me exclusively. Okay. We're going to play this in just a minute, but I think it's 50-50. I want to see what video this is that I'm about to show you before I start, though. Camera 3. There we go. Okay, let's give it a start here.
You had your opportunity to ask the witness questions. He's been released.
Okay, so this is talking about the detective.
If I mumble something under my breath, somehow that's audible, but when I talk clearly, somehow nobody hears
missed
me.
it, but I heard what I interpreted was when you said I may have an issue with
I'm going to catch up on your quotes here just for a second.
I guess I didn't take that as you were going to reserve your right to recall him.
She was talking about the.
So
I guess he has a chance of
are
3
you telling
witnesses
me
tomorrow
you'd like to
or
reserve
Monday.
your right to recall Detective Guth?
Yes.
All right, then that will be noted, and we'll
Okay.
keep him under the
So
subpoena.
that detective was there in court anyway. So she basically made eye contact with him and said, "Hey." So
That
it looks
should
like he might be up
address
here again.
We'll have the jury brought back in, and you should be prepared if you choose to call Ms. Patterson. This is your opportunity to do it.
He's really mad in this
At the
video.
same time, though, that's still a rush to judgment, Your Honor. You can't.
He doesn't want to call
forced
Miss Patterson at this
to
time
call people in the order that I'm
because
told to when they
he
are
wants to
my
have him in his own order, but he refused to give the order that he
Take
wanted
that
them
one
to the
provided
state, and the
with
state
the
was
order
willing
and
contacting the
expected that
witnesses. So they
was
contacted who they could.
And so then
She got here.
I asked you
She's
to
the
witness-
only one here at
With
this
all
time
respect,
point in the
did I
video.
not inform Your Honor in the court
that I would not give a specific order. I stated that numerous times.
And Mr. Brooks,
Numerous
I
times.
have
He thinks
authority
he
to
thinks
tell
that it's
you
not
otherwise.
fair
You
I
may
did.
not like
that
it.
the
You
state
may
gets to
disagree
find
with
out,
it.
It's not-
you know,
it's
5
not
minutes
about that.
before he
It's
calls
about the
somebody.
You
right
have
to
not
He's
been
going to call.
cooperating with this process. The
There's
state
nothing
has
to cooperate
graciously
with.
agreed to assist you given your custodial status.
Okay, and I never asked them to
frankly,
do
any
that.
attorney in this
I never asked
situation
them to do that, Your
We're
Honor.
going to
give
turn it
us
down
the
as they're going to
order.
argue
Did
for
I
quite a
not?
while on this.
Did I ask them to do that?
He's asking somebody something right now.
I did not ask them to do that. They
Anyway,
volunteered.
They
let me
So
switch the
at the end of
picture
the
here in
day,
the background.
They didn't want to do it. Yeah, but that
I'm going to
wasn't one of
switch
the
the background
stipulations when
to
they offered to
how
do
I
it,
think
Your
he
Honor.
feels
Let's-
right
let's
now.
be- let's-
No, common
Which is that one.
courtesy is the stipulation.
Okay, but it wasn't
and here's the
stipulated.
thing.
And we'll go back to your
So I
comments. I'm
didn't
going to turn the sound down. Just if you want me to just let it play and you want to follow what he's saying and follow the argument, let me know. But I think you're here for the commentary and for getting some ideas out. Let's see. I think on Friday, during one of his last meltdowns, we talked about that. He made a smarky comment asking the judge about this cystic trust. Okay, I don't know how to say that, but yes, there was a comment saying that she was trying to become the beneficiary of a trust or something, and clearly he's done some sort of internet digging. She's a respectable person in the community. She's she's on different boards and she speaks and stuff, so she probably is in charge of some sort of trust that has funds somewhere. You know, that's just, you know, when you get somebody who has experience with the law and things like that, they tend to be on boards and committees and things like that. So he's latched onto that as being like, this is her goal in life, is to get this. He's talking about his shock ankles.
I just want this to be fair, and it has
Brooks
to
will absolutely take the stance as Peter. Thank you, Peter, for that.
If I have to do
It's a
something that
narcissist
they don't
dream.
have to do, how's that fair?
Miss L, is it true all our babies are born with all the hope in the It is true. All our babies are born with all the hope in the world. As a parent, it must be beyond comprehension when your child ends up doing this. Cannot begin to comprehend. I agree, Miss L. I think that is very much the situation, that his mom is heartbroken over it. But at the same time, she has a hard time accepting that. I mean, she says he didn't do this deliberately. This isn't him. He couldn't do that. Gooth rhymes with Booth. Deborah, thanks for seeing that too. People give her a pass, but she's part of the problem. That's the other side of that coin. Untreated adult ADHD. Uncivil Law says, I can't rewatch this video. It already haunts my dreams. The jury's coming out.
I'm gonna stand my ground too, but I'm not gonna be disrespectful or disruptive. I'm just stating I want it to be fair.
When the jury
If you
comes
don't
back
call her, I'm
out,
gonna excuse her.
Releasing her from the subpoena.
You can't do that.
For your
Where's
lack
the
of
lawful law?
cooperation.
Where's the lawful law? I have the right to
You have to
witnesses,
cooperate with this process.
but I
sir.
also have the Sixth Amendment right.
We have a witness available for you to call. I can require
It's
you
not
to
the
call
witness
her
that
right
should have
now.
been called at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, his arguments are just, oh man, it's frustrating. But he's mad that he has to call her to the stand.
It's not no
So,
game. That's what you don't seem to understand.
Let's see. Molly Shepard
I don't care what
was
you
give me
believe,
assistance.
It's not a game.
The my was
I
an
don't
error.
take this as
Okay.
a game. That's what,
Right,
that's
sorry
what
about that.
nobody-
I read it
that's
wrong.
what
Thanks for
nobody
clarifying
don't gotta
that.
explain nothing to me.
Shane O'Neill from Dublin, Ireland. Loving watching the trial. Don't know why though. It's a roller coaster. Shane, let me just say, we're not all like this. This isn't like a window into all American families. This is an exception, I really think.
It's unfair and it's disrespectful to me that you think I would come in here purposely
Oh, he's
and
standing
treat
up.
this like a joke or a game.
I never said it was a joke.
What type of statement is that?
Mr.
Your life is not on the line. Mine is. And you think that I think this is funny?
I don't think it's funny whatsoever.
So,
I think the
so
judge
I
cracked
think,
a
Your Honor,
smile.
with all due respect, I think you
So
should show
we're
some
going to take
respect.
a 5-minute break, and when we come
She's like,
back,
all right,
the
guys,
jury's
children,
coming out,
children.
and you need to call your next witness. Thank you. We are in
No,
recess.
you're not rushing me to judgment. I don't care what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't care what you're talking about. Okay, clearly, she was rushing him to judgment, apparently, according to him. There we go. Okay, so we're going to catch up a little bit on the chat here. Awfully unlawful laws suck. Yes, I agree. And there's a process to handle unlawful laws in every single state. And I encourage anyone who feels that the laws in their community or in their state or in their country, if they feel that they're wrong, I encourage them to get involved and try to change them, and do that in a manner that follows order and law, because using disorder to change the law only creates more disorder. And it doesn't change the law. You break it, like Maxwell's silver hammer. It comes down on you, whether it's right or wrong. See, Patsy Cline says, Honorable Jennifer Doro, stellar lady judge who has demonstrated the greatest degree of patience, tolerance, and fortitude that I have ever seen in all my 63 years, deserves a gold medal. Patsy, I'm going to go ahead and forward that to the judge, the gold medal. I'll just take one off the wall that I have and give her mine. I don't have any, though. If not intentional, why didn't you stop? He kept going, killing 6, wounded over 60 more. Okay, that's something we're still waiting for an answer for. I don't know if he's ever going to address that, honestly. The judge has too much patience. He is a saint. Yes, if you guys, actually, if you go on the internet, you can Google Saint Judge Darrow, and there's a funny picture out there of her with a crown and a scepter and a rosary, and it's beautiful. You'll love it. I'm not going to show it because I think it's probably a copyright image, but why hasn't she tossed him into the other courtroom more times? Amy, she actually doesn't want to toss him into the courtroom. The proceedings can go smoother, believe it or not. They can go faster, they can go better, and she has a better control over protecting his rights and his rights as a defendant if he's in the courtroom. That's why. Patty, thanks for putting a shout out for the like button. Yeah, please do. We'd love to have a follow or subscribe. If you ring the bell, then when we go live on Monday, you'll be able to be here for all the action. Fabian shouts, grounds. We will do a drinking game on Monday. The beverage of your choice we have done on previous streams when it's a live stream. We'll find a certain occurrence that is likely to happen in the court, and every time that happens, we'll all take a drink. Although on doctor's orders, I'm going to be switching to the clear stuff instead of the Mountain Dew I've been chugging these last couple days. Any chance that Stockton syndrome comes into play here too soon? Randy, I don't know. Do you think the judge, has a soft spot in her heart for him now? He's one scary dude when he yells. Ouch. He does get angry. And I think as it gets closer to him losing all control, I think there's more and more chance of him losing it. 6 lives taken, yes, tragically. The youngest one was 8. I mean, it's awful. The guy's a wacko, says Shane O'Neill from Ireland. Thanks for weighing in there. Mr. Red Girl says, imagine what Erica went through with him. Yeah, but did you see Erica on the stand? Do you see how well composed she was? As he flipped out and was, doing his whole thing, she was still on the stand. The judge hadn't released her from the stand during a lot of his tirade, and finally the prosecution says, "Judge, can we let the witness go?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, sorry, you can leave for this." But Darrell was like, the witness is all scared of me, and the judge's like, "No, she didn't seem scared of you at all." So, anyway, we're gonna talk about opening the barn door. I'm not sure if that's the next video we've got here, so give me a second to prepare that. But I think the one of the videos we have is what would happen if that door is opened, and that door we're talking about. I think this is the last video with Erica, the witness we're just talking about. In the line of questioning, Darrell asks her if I forget the actual question, but it sort of opens the door. If she answered, then it would open the door to bringing in information about his prior record or something about why are you, what happened before. But the way this comes about is bizarre. And I want you to watch in this video where we're going to see the prosecution just about fall off their chairs as Darrell Brooks just on the fly just whips out evidence that's never been in discovery and tries to present it to the witness, and then has no basis for it. He doesn't have any. He's asked for an offer of proof to say what is this? Where did you get it? Everything like that, and it's bizarre. So we're gonna watch this here really quickly, and this is my last clip, and then we'll follow a couple things, and then talk about what's going to happen on Monday. So give me just a second here.
So my question would be...
He's talking about the restraining order, and she's not supposed to contact him.
I don't know if you can see him from here, but do you recognize these pictures?
You need to show those to the state. The bail will take
Look
them.
at Sue. Look at Sue Opper. She's like, "Are you kidding me?"
Procedure, sir.
Darrell is standing there like, like king of the hill. He thinks he's just won his defense. Sue's eyes are still just about popping out of her head.
No relevance whatsoever to this trial.
Yes, they do. And
Sustained.
I'm getting to how they had relevance.
They've also never been disclosed to the state before this moment.
Sustained.
Sustain why?
Not relevant.
They are relevant. It creates foundation.
Okay, so he's doing a good job. He's saying the right words, but it doesn't create
Take
foundation.
you outside the presence of the jury at the conclusion of this witness, and if need be, bring the witness back in. But next question.
So she
please.
tries to move on.
And
She
these
tries to
need
just
to
sweep
be
it under the rug for now.
Offered into evidence as well.
And he's like, "I want these as
You
evidence."
stated that there's been no contact.
And he goes right back to the sustained objection question.
How would the alleged defendant obtain photographs from you if there's been no contact?
Objection.
Grounds.
She's like,
Grounds.
that's the same question.
Sustained. Assumes facts not in evidence. Not relevant.
Assumes fact, not in evidence.
How is it not relevant? Photos just don't pop up out of the blue.
Mr.
Yes,
Brooks
they did
does
today.
assume facts not in evidence.
No,
And at
facts.
this point,
I got the pictures right here.
after
Facts.
the alleged date of violation here, it's not relevant.
Alleged violation.
Didn't she
You're
say
correct.
alleged?
After the date.
Didn't she say
charged,
alleged the first time?
The dates that are charged for these allegations, you are absolutely correct.
So she affirms, yes, alleged. If she didn't say alleged, she meant it. So she agrees with him there. Okay, so watch what happens here. Because the jury's about to leave. They don't know it yet, but he just can't seem to get his line of questioning right.
Have you, since the evening of November 21st of 2021,
So he's talking about after.
have you attempted to contact the alleged defendant?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevance.
Grounds.
I'm going to excuse the jury.
Bye, jury. Take a walk.
I'll rise for the jury.
Maybe we should drink every time the jury has to be kicked out of the courtroom. That would still be sufficient for anyone who plans to get a little bit tipsy. Look at Darrell's look there. He thinks he's brought up something that really proves his case. He thinks that like this is his key evidence, and it's not anything. It happened after the parade. How can this have anything to do with whether or not he's guilty or not? He's trying to try his ex-girlfriend for allegedly attempting to contact him when there was a restraining order in place. What does that have to do with whether or not he drove through a parade and killed people?
Funny. Your Honor, I find it.
Hold on.
She's like, wait till the jury's
Sir, I'm going to
out.
let you make an offer of proof as to why you believe the photographs and the questioning about contact after the alleged incident is relevant.
It's relevant because these were sent by the witness.
She's so patient here. Watch how
Assume
she
the
tries
fact
to
not in
help him.
evidence, but
You
what
want
is
the letter
hold
too?
on, hold on.
She actually
Tell
lists
me the basis you believe
ways he can
there's been
say
communication
that these
and
are
why you believe
valid.
it's relevant to her testimony.
It's relevant because it was testified to her first time testifying, and then also by
So he's
what's
trying
the last
to
guy, Guth.
he's trying to
he was
basically
told that
discredit
the
this
witness
witness.
was supposed to be so deeply afraid of
She
me
is
and
still
all this
on the
type of
stand
stuff.
right now.
So if you're so deeply afraid and worried about somebody and this and that, why would you?
Prosecution's
You're
going to
going
step
to
in.
want to open up the door to the other act's evidence of
That's
you
not
use-
opening.
No.
That's not
Hear me
opening the
out.
door.
Hear me out. Oh, yes, it does.
No,
Yes,
it
it
doesn't.
does.
These
Yes.
witnesses have been incredibly careful to abide by my rulings.
If you ask her about why
Sometimes in
she's
the court
afraid of
law, when there
him,
are
she can bring
pretrial
up
rulings,
previous
the testimony
convictions
of a
for abuse
witness
that he has
needs
against
to
her.
be said in such a way not to run afoul of that. This witness, Detective Guth, I believe Detective Casey and others, Corey Runkle, and even Nicholas Kirby yesterday, this court has all had to stop them so that they didn't run afoul, or they've stopped themselves
she's
so
done
that
this to
they didn't run
protect
afoul
him.
of the court's
This is to
pretrial
protect
ruling
Darrell.
on other acts evidence between you and this witness.
And I know this is a long
I've
clip,
been very,
but
very
the end of this
careful
one,
to make sure that
the
doesn't
prosecution
come in.
gives
But
us a
if you
glimpse
keep
into what it looks
questioning
like
her
if that
about
door's
whether
open.
she's afraid or not, or
I didn't-
why
I
she
didn't
wouldn't
question her
have
about that.
contact or
I
not,
didn't
you are
question her about
opening
that.
the door to that testimony.
How? You just are.
All of
How
my
does- how
rulings
does-
have
how
been
does-
made to prevent
how
what
does
could be
pictures
seen
work?
as prejudicial
Help me help you, please.
evidence. The standard's not prejudicial. The standard's whether it's unfairly prejudicial.
It's
But
unfairly
you can
prejudicial.
open the door
Your
to
Honor,
that,
It's
sir.
unfairly prejudicial that I have a document stating that November 20th never even happened.
Okay, and he's-
yet and still
he's
the
talking
witness can
about-
get
Have
on
you
the
turned
stand
that
and lie on the
document
stand.
over to the state?
Come on, man.
He's like-
y'all know that's not right.
It
Y'all know
Yes,
that's not right.
it is right. Not only is it right, it's required. It's called discovery.
You need to
if
immediately
you have
turn it over
evidence
to the state
for
right
the
now.
trial,
It may become
you have
relevant,
to turn
but
it
no one
over.
has seen it. When
So-
did you receive the
so that- so
document?
what-
Hold on. When did you?
When-
I'm having you make an offer. But when did you receive
She's
the
trying to
document?
help him.
I just want to state for the record, Your Honor, that's kind of biased because the state did the same thing yesterday with creating an exhibit right on the fly that didn't even exist.
talking
that
about
I
his
didn't
rap
have.
video that they
But
showed.
That's
then-
not true. That's a
No,
misstatement of the
that
of the
is
evidence.
true.
It's not
No.
true.
She said it herself.
It was included in discovery.
Marking an exhibit is not creating an
No,
exhibit.
not marking an exhibit. She said
We're not
that
going to go
essentially-
down a tangent, sir.
All right,
I'm going to
I'm not gonna
focus
argue
on
with
this,
you,
and I'm
but
going to
it's
give
not
you the
fair.
opportunity
It's
to
not
make
fair.
a record.
It's not
All right?
fair. It's
Come
not
on,
fair.
man.
When did you receive this document that
Janie,
you claim was
let me
sent
turn this
by
down.
this witness?
As they're talking about this, Janie asks, what does he want to be called? We don't know. Other than Math Boy Fly, which is his rapper name, I have not heard any other name that he wants to be called other than what he identified himself as Darrell Brooks. But apparently he can tell if you say it in capitals or lowercase. And every time you say it, it's capitals. When he says it, it's lowercase. So go figure.
But the state can do it, no problem.
It's not, sir. There are proper procedures, and I
Okay,
want
well,
you to
that
make
was the
a
proper
record.
procedure.
If you don't make a record,
So
then
what?
I can't make a
It
ruling.
threw people off the loop. They weren't ready for it. They scared of it. That's what it is. Oh man.
Mr. Brooks,
Her soul
man,
just left her
stop.
body.
You
That was the
you
second
are-
miracle.
Stop it.
letting
You're a
me
public
ask
servant.
She's still
questions.
alive.
I respect your courtroom. I
You
respect
do.
you. You're a public servant, though. Your job is to be the referee. Is it or is it not? You stated so yourself on record that your job is being the umpire.
Is you or is you not my constituency?
Yes, you can be excused. My apologies.
Okay, finally the witness
My
gets off the
apologies, too,
stand.
but it needs
Way
to
to go,
be some
Zach.
truth.
My apology too. He still jabs
Especially
at her.
when we're
Listen,
talking about stuff that didn't even happen, but they're allowed to get on the stand and say that it happened when they know it didn't happen.
So I'm going to make a record about what
This
he's
is
referring
ridiculous,
to
man.
in count 77. Okay. The
And what happened to that paper? Because it was on the table. Then when I
Mr.
come
Brooks,
back in,
I
it's
need to
nowhere
make
be
a
found.
record of a variety
Did he
of
just-
things.
Who took my paper?
Who took my
you
paper?
keep
Did you hear that?
interrupting me
Did he say, "Who took my paper"?
repeatedly
Remember
today.
that.
I have shown an abundance of patience this morning. I've warned you repeatedly about being removed from the courtroom. And then every time I try to get into it, you, meaning an explanation and make a record, you interrupt, you attempt to divert everyone from what is being done this
Trying to follow your
very
comments here.
second.
Hang
I
on.
didn't attempt to do anything.
Yes, you do it repeatedly,
Okay,
sir.
whatever.
So you're doing it once again.
Whatever.
Just make your record.
The document that Mr. Brooks wanted to show Detective Guth and this witness
Now they're
was a
stealing his
letter
papers.
sent from the state of Wisconsin to the court regarding count 77.
Okay, so
state
she's going to
sought
explain
to
this.
dismiss
I
that
can
count
do it
and
quicker
they
than
have
she does because she's
prosecutorial
very thorough in
And
everything
I
she does.
granted the request
But there was a
that the
77th
charge
count
be
that was
dismissed.
involved. It addressed the
And that's-
alleged
I can't answer. It's dismissed
assault
because
the
request
day
was made,
before the
sir.
parade
They
incident.
don't need a
What
reason.
that basically
There's
was
no
identical to the one that
abundance
happened
case
on the
law
parade
about
incident, where she was.
prosecutorial discretion.
She says his girlfriend says she was
And
slapped and punched
they
in the
chose
face.
not
The state chose not to
pursue
they,
that.
they chose to
My
withdraw that
guess
because
is maybe
they didn't
also
have any
they
photos
were
of the
thinking to
injuries.
keep
And
this tight. I
sadly,
don't
in
know.
domestic
You know what?
cases,
I'll
that
indulge
often
you.
is the case. If
Attorney
there's not
Hunter, would you like
proof,
to provide a
you can't move
basis for
forward.
why
You can't do a he
the
said,
state
she said thing.
sought dismissal
You end up
of
with
that
a
charge prior to the start of this trial?
Amber Heard type situation.
Yes, Your Honor, because
But,
as Ms. Patterson just testified, a short while ago. She did not have any visible marks or injuries from that event. And we did have the photographs of her injuries. We did not want to confuse the record as to whether or not there was a battery that occurred on November 20th.
Your Honor, I object to that. What does the letter read?
You have the letter. You showed it to me, sir.
And I've been
I
trying
can't
to
find
find
it.
ever since I came back in. And now
Ever
all
since
of
I
a
threw
sudden
my papers
And
on the
now
floor,
you're
I can't find
imputing,
anything.
though, like somehow you're imputing the integrity of this court,
No,
of
I'm
the
not.
bailiffs of this state. You're accusing.
Okay, remember what I told you to remember?
everyone
Did I
of
point
moving
the
your
finger?
papers.
Did I point the finger at anyone? Did I say anyone did?
Who took
Not
my paper?
directly, but indirectly you did.
So
sir.
how can you make the assumption that I'm saying?
Can
that
I
I'm
please
pointing to
make the
someone?
record without
Yes,
you interrupting
yes, you may.
me?
Yes, you may. I apologize.
I
I'm gonna let you
appreciate
finish.
That, thank you. But you made repeated comments, sir, about I can't find my documents. I don't know what happened.
L.
things of that nature.
Zach
When you
is his
came
name.
back out,
I don't remember his last
took
name. Male
multiple
prosecutor's name is
minutes before
Zach.
you even asked your first question of Ms. Patterson. And if I need to, I'll have a bailiff put on the record that no one touched your table.
Your Honor, did I say anyone touched my table?
Yes.
I
You
didn't say
implied it, sir.
But did I say that?
You
never
stated it implicitly.
I never asked the bailiffs, hey, did
Grounds.
you touch my table? I never said that to them. I just said I can't find my paper, which is the truth.
And the
I'm
way
looking
that
down.
you said it, like,
I didn't point anyone
with
out,
with, and like,
I
well,
don't
that's
think that
kind
that's
of
fair.
interesting.
I don't
I don't
think that
have a
that's fair to
document that was
assume.
just on my table. That is what you said.
That's
Words
what
to
I
that
said, but I
effect.
did not point the finger at anyone.
Okay.
So
I
you
can see
have
if
the
I
letter.
came in, Your Honor, with
You've
all
been
respect,
given.
I can see if
This
I
is
came
all
in
the
and
respect
said,
you can give.
hey, one of you moved something off my table, or if I would have directed that towards the state, or if I would have directed that towards the clerks or something like that, then that would be more of a
I don't think
validity
anyone
to what
wants
you're
to get
saying.
close enough to
I
him
need
to move
continue
something
with
off
the
his
record,
table.
sir. It's very apparent to me, sir, that every time, I can't say every time because that would be an absolute, but many times throughout this
Good catch.
trial, and especially the last 2 days,
Eric, that is
the
funny.
court makes a ruling that you disagree with.
Maybe if
or I wanna
Darrell
make a
Brooks would
record
rap
about
his case, he could win.
behavior of yours, or a further record about a ruling that you that was not in your favor, that you start peppering me with questions or comments, statements. You question me about the law. You ask, is it verified law? It is, from my perspective, a clear attempt to kind of turn us in a direction.
We're hearing the prosecution whisper a
away
little bit.
from what we're doing,
They're conferring.
perhaps
They're
even
not
to stall
talking about
and to
Darrell, but
delay.
Darrell thinks they're talking about him.
Sorry
That's
you
my
feel that way.
that I'm making a rule. You're doing
Sorry you
it.
feel that way,
I mean,
Judge.
because it has no validity.
So, I am trying to make a record outside the presence of the jury about a line of questioning you want to ask Ms. Patterson. Now, I've reviewed repeatedly
D Soul,
on the bench.
the dude has no
90608
rhythm on his rap. I would have to agree with you. It's I'm not a huge rap fan, but I do listen to some, and I don't rank Math Boy Fly's rap as very high on my list. As I've said before, it's not going to be on my playlist anytime soon.
To character for truthfulness or untruthfulness. It's not specific instances of conduct. It's
Okay,
character.
so hang tight.
evidence,
We're
which frankly
we're
wouldn't
getting
even
to the
come
point
from
where
the
the
witness
prosecution is going to
testifying.
just show a glimpse
Then
of some of what they'd say
there's
if they open
the
this door.
statute on bias,
So
90616.
give us a minute. We're going to get
Right?
here.
And none of the questions, as I heard them, went to a permissible topic under bias of witnesses.
It's funny, wanted to twin.
You generally said credibility. You did not give me any further explanation as to why you believed it was relevant to credibility. Now we have you.
So she's going through the legal steps of this while she's talking. I just want to say this stream is provided by the courts to the media. So this is a publicly available stream that's sent on several different channels. If you don't like my commentary, I still think you should watch the case. There are different ways you can watch it live. But if you want commentary, if you want me to talk and give you my feedback and answer your questions, love for you to subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell. We'll come back on Monday and watch the finale to this as it happens next week. But
I received this multiple letters actually over a period of
So
time.
he's talking about the letter that these pictures came in from his girlfriend. So he's basically saying, if where would these pictures come from if it weren't from her, because they're pictures of her kids. The prosecution is going to address that and basically say we have him on jail phone record asking his mom or talking to his mom about getting these pictures.
I thought from my interpretation.
Let me answer a couple questions while they're getting to the interesting stuff here. So he wants her to mess up and call a mistrial. Yes, Pamela, you're right. I think he is. Sophie, I don't think he's faking insanity. I think this is the real Darrell Brooks we're seeing here. There's no faking going on. But I also don't think he's insane. I think it's something else. Who is, would the real Darrell Brooks please stand up? Who is the Darrell Brooks who's in chat? Did somebody come in and change their name to Darrell Brooks in chat? I did not see that. I'll have to see the comments and be the judge of that. I sort of think that's funny sometimes, but we also want to not make it look like we're representing that's who he is. Let's see. Can the judge be reprimanded after this for letting him cause disruption in the courtroom and being disrespectful to the court? He even slammed his fist on the table. Yes, we're gonna get to that. I think that's coming. Talking goes back and forth. I don't think the judge will be reprimanded. I think, if anything, they'll throw a parade in her honor once he's locked up safely. When he said in his opening he was removing his mask, Mermaid says this, I didn't realize he truly meant he would at this moment. Zach Witchcow gave him the ultimate law brawl smackdown. Mermaid, you're testing my reading abilities. Write it explain it as you would to a child. And let me read it again. His opening statement, it was the tears. He was crying, reading the Bible. His opening statement, was basically like, there's so much healing going on both sides. And basically he was like, I'm hurt because people are saying bad things about me. You have to think about that. That's not really winning the jury over. Serious question from D Soul. Verdict must be unanimous? Yes. That's an easy one.
Your Honor, I'm going to go out on a limb here.
And I'm asking you why you have hold.
I'm going to go out on a limb.
I'm going to go out on a limb.
I'm guessing
here.
you've never been in jail.
Assume, which I know is true, you've never been in my position. You've never been in jail. So you've never received a letter from someone writing someone in jail. No one is going to... When you
You're
say
not
to
answering
me,
my
when
question,
you say to
sir.
me,
What's the basis why you believe they're from Miss Patterson? Is there some information in them?
Is there information
that
only she would know?
Do
you recognize the handwriting?
Is it penmanship that you recognize? Why do you believe
she's
they're
basically
from her as opposed
writing
to
his
somebody
argument for
else
him,
sending
saying,
you
just say
information?
this
You're
and I'll
wrong.
try to
I'm
let
just
your
saying,
evidence in. She's trying to help him. She probably would
You
still
gotta
rule
answer my
against it.
question. It's called an offer of proof.
But you still got to understand why this is mind-boggling to me. Like, how I got a child with this woman. Why would I not know her handwriting?
But you have to
Why
lay
would
a
I not know?
foundation for these letters, sir. That might be
doesn't
through
understand.
your own testimony. So that I'm trying to figure out why you believe they're from her. Not all this other stuff about I'm in jail
serious?
and I have a child. I'm trying to
He doesn't get it.
It's called an offer of proof.
Are you serious?
What do
Yes,
you believe?
she's
Why do you
serious.
believe they're from her? I am serious. I need you to
Because
answer.
they're from her.
But you're assuming
Like,
that.
how else am I supposed to answer that?
I've given you a few reasons why it would lend to that.
She's like, I've told you what to say.
The bottom line is I need the letter. So if you're going to question her on that, the state absolutely has a right to see the letter. So you need to provide that letter. The bottom line is I'm not going to allow any questioning without having that letter.
So
The state has the ability to question you about
So
that.
Cece says, personally, if I was the state after this, and I, of course, don't know the legal recourse in that state, but I would be really upset at the amount of help she does give him. Yeah, she's not supposed to help him. I would even say that she's gone too far in saying, do you recognize the handwriting? Does it have content that only she would know? Is this, did she sign the letter? Basically saying, here's what to argue.
I just said no. How many times I got to say the same thing on record?
Sometimes, sir,
Some
I
things you
don't
keep
hear
saying
what you say because
that we have on
you
record
interrupt
already.
me so much, or you answer quietly. And I'm taking notes and I'm focused
Ian
on
King,
probably
quit calling
a
out my
dozen things
failures.
at the same time.
But if I say
I
something
did
under
miss
my breath,
the
everybody seems
Beatles
to hear
reference,
it.
and I apologize for
Everybody
that.
seems to hear
In a
that just
quiet
fine.
I can't say it won't happen
Everybody
again, though.
You can hear it very
And
clearly.
everybody assumes that it has to be disparaging.
Surprise! There's no letter.
Once again, you're doing this.
He does not
Because
produce the
trying
letter.
to
It's not a
So
tactic. It's
off of what we're
facts.
talking
It's
about
facts.
to some
The-
other reason.
It's facts.
To
Because
some
I
other
find
thing.
it hard to believe
the
that.
bailiff twice offered to
Well,
take
I'm
him to
gonna let
jail
the
to get the
state-
letter,
Here's
and he
what I
refused
say.
both
I'm
times.
going to let the state make a record of why they
Okay,
feel
listen to
it's
this.
objectionable
This
because
is
I
great.
haven't
This
let
is
them
the
do
barn
that.
door.
I've given
This
you
is if you
multiple
open that door,
opportunities
this
to
is
tell
what
me
we
why
would
you
say.
believe it's-
I didn't get these pictures from
Okay, I'm going to be quiet during this part. I want you to
The
listen
record
and
will
reply what you
reflect
think.
have
That,
two pictures
what do you
that
think
you
about this?
believe were
What would
from
happen
this
if the
witness.
jury
That I know
heard
is from-
what the state is
That
about
you
to talk
believe.
about?
That I know.
Give them a minute to. They're
right.
going to talk
I'll
first
ask
about
the
what he's
state
trying
their
to do,
position
and
on
then
all
they're
of
going to bring
this.
up his history.
My position, Your Honor, is that these pictures, first of all, should not be admissible. One, because of a discovery violation. We've never seen them before. Two, because we have reason to believe that he did not get them from Erica Patterson. He is on a jail phone call talking to his mother, Dawn Woods, about Dawn Woods sending these photographs to him. Now,
That's a lie. I object to
Let
that.
the state make their argument without interruption, sir.
That's a lie, though.
three, I believe that these photographs are designed to make a suggestion to the jury that Erica Patterson is a bad mom. I think that is what the defendant is trying to do. And if we're going to go down that road, then we would be forced to counter that claim. First of all, it doesn't make her an incredible witness.
Incredible
If it's even
meaning
true.
not believable.
And second of all, if we go down that road, we would be forced to counter that claim by pointing out that not only does the defendant not live with the child in question, he doesn't live with any of the other children that he has. He impregnated Erica Patterson when she was a minor in Nevada, and for doing so, he was convicted of statutory sexual seduction, pled guilty in March of 2007 to that felony offense, and is a sex offender on the registry as a result. So if there's any causation that would lead to Erica Patterson being a bad mom, Mr. Brooks has a direct role in that causation.
And that's
Furthermore,
I object to that.
I'm not
because
done.
that's a lie.
Let him
Because at the
finish.
end of
I'm
the
not
day,
done.
Let
if
him
we-
finish,
If we gonna open the door
Mr.
on that, no,
Brooks.
since he want to make a record and not be accurate, so let's be accurate all on the record. Since you think you know so much,
Once
so
again,
we can
Mr.
open the
Brooks
door
is
on.
being
We can
loud,
open the door on how old she told me she
disrespectful,
was when we met.
interrupting.
We can ask
He's-
that question
he is
too. Then
over the
Did you
top,
ask that?
animated
Did you
right
know
now.
that?
Mr. Brooks, I'm ordering you to sit down and to let the state
No,
finish.
I'm not going to sit here and let somebody be inaccurate on the record and lie on the record.
Right. Under Illinois versus Allen, I've warned him repeatedly. He's being removed from the courtroom. And you know what? Let me dial that back. We're just going to take an early lunch, 1 hour. We'll be back. And unless he brings that letter and he
Don't
can
sit
show
there and try
it
to
is
think he knows what's
inadmissible,
going
she will
on.
not be questioned. And under 906.11, I will
Then you gonna
declare
talk
the
about where my
cross-examination
kids live. You don't know where,
closed.
You don't know where, what
Thank
happened
you.
at the
We're in
time where
recess,
all this
1
happened,
hour.
bruh. Get your facts straight. So let's open the door on all of it then, so we can get all of it on the record. Since you think you know so much,
Still a hot mic.
did you know she said she was 18 when I met her? Did you know that?
Wow. Okay. What do you guys think of that? That is. Whoops! You don't want to see me twice. That is what opening the door means. The judge is trying to not allow this overly prejudicial information to be presented to the jury. Yeah. Holy cow! It's like, boom goes female Leo. Yeah. Wow. Fuse lit. Oh, snap. Exit sage left. Clown, go throttle up. What a complete clown. He wants the record to be accurate. Let's see. I'm trying to read and find the comments that I can share with everybody. Some of you say some bad stuff in here. Let's see. What's the business? Jim, I got that reference. What's the business? That's a reference to one of his other rap songs. Also not worthy of listening to. See Honda, thanks for saying that. I like doing it. I'm happy that you guys are here. That's what makes it all possible. Did I already show the laser glare? Did I miss that one? I thought I showed it. The stare down? No. I'll have to look and see if I've still got that one. I was closing things down. I might have shut it down. I think it's at the end of one of the clips that I stopped early. I'll see if I can look for it. I can't promise anything because I'm not very good at being multi-talented. DB is a clown. He's awful. Even the other prosecutor was impressed. I loved Zach, who's like, I'm not finished. Of course, basically when he says he's not finished, that he would go back through the entire record. And what he didn't say, but what he was going to say, is that DB has a prior conviction for running someone over with his car. And if that won't influence the jury, I don't know what will. But wow. I do think the mom is going to testify. How can you do that in court? Graphic Warehouse, nice name, by the way. It sounds like a company account, so awesome. Love small business. The judge sort of has her hands tied. She said this. I don't have this clip. I don't have it ready for today, but she did say, she was trying to threaten him that he'd go in the other courtroom. She'd have to send him out. She gave him like 15 chances, right? She's like, I'm going to ask one more time if, you can stay if this, and he wouldn't. And she's like, Mr. Brooks, you win because I need to have you here right now. I can't send you out. And that's why the judge is trying to threaten and bluff basically. And he doesn't like being in the other courtroom. He hates that she can mute him. And all he can do at that time is pretend he can't hear her. But the bailiffs are there and they can hear. And we know that he can hear her because when he's in another courtroom, as soon as she asks him a question, he'll put on the headset. He's like, what? I couldn't hear you. but yeah. Anyway, I forgot where I was going with that, but let's go back to the questions. How can you do that in court? He's found a loophole basically that prevents him from getting thrown out because he has his own defense. And I don't know how you address that in the future. What would you do other than utilize the shock collars that he says are around his ankles? The jury has seen him behaving very badly. I don't think what he said at the beginning and ending when they're walking in and out of the courtroom about subject matter jurisdiction and yet to be proven in court and I have yet to receive the evidence, I don't think that is swaying them at all. I don't think they're thinking, what aren't we being told? I think most people have a basic understanding of the court system and understand that the judge really will rule as to what evidence is pertinent to the case, and that's what they're supposed to rule on. So I don't think that's an issue. Erie Moros says, take a drink every time he mispronounces something and see how long you stay conscious. Oh my goodness. That I'm going to need, I could drown. I could literally drown if I do that. The only accurate record is what he did on that day, but he is too much of a coward to admit it. Postcards from protest. I agree. We have yet to hear him own up to anything. The most he can do is basically protest when someone describes something that he thinks was different than how it occurred, but he won't even say he is Darrell Brooks, so he's not owning up at all. All he needs is just one juror to think he hasn't been given a fair trial. Just saying, Angelo, you're right. One holdout juror could change everything. It has to be unanimous to convict him.
That's right. But the one juror has to think that he's not guilty, not that it hasn't been fair to him.
Right. Right. Okay, my wife brings up a good point. That one juror, if there is one juror who's a holdout, they have to believe that he's not guilty. Okay, because they're only determining whether he's guilty or not. They're not there to determine whether the trial was fair. That is held for the appellate court if he decides to appeal his conviction, which I'm confident if he is convicted, he will do. I can't wait till they tell him what to do in prison. Oh, he's being told quite a bit, and he is super frustrated. I know he was frustrated that he is being told to sit. Excuse me, he's been told to sit down. Do you think the judge wakes up before the day starts, realizing Brooks is going to try to piss her off at least 20 times? I think she's counting the minutes until it's done. She wants this thing to move forward, but at the same time, she knows that if she makes a mistake, if she loses her cool, if she, acts rashly, that all this would have to be repeated either with her or with another judge. And I don't. Do you guys know a better judge than this? Do you know somebody else who can handle it better than she has? Why doesn't she allow the jury to see his actions? Because she has a duty to present him in that light that he is innocent until proven guilty. And so all the information that's not pertinent just to the events that he's being charged with, he's not being charged with all the previous convictions. He has other pending charges that are being handled separately. She's keeping all that information out, and she just wants the jury to rule on exactly what he's being charged with here. She's going out of his way to respect his right to a fair trial. Yes, and that's a constitutional protection, constitutional right. There could be a sovereign citizen on the jury. They aren't common, and a lot of times a sovereign citizen, their beliefs are, it's okay. I don't want to offend anybody here, but it's like talking to a vegan. If they're a vegan, right? That idea is generally shared pretty openly, and sovereign citizens are more so that way. I probably offended all the vegans in here, and I do apologize if I did that. I just like meat. That's what it is. I like my burgers. But sovereign citizens are generally the type of individuals that are very vocal about their beliefs. And it might be more difficult for an adamant sovereign citizen to make it through the screening process, the questionnaire, the pre-trial process than not. Although if they intend to lie from the get-go, they might be able to. Where do inmates learn this sovereign citizen stuff? Since he's been in solitary, I'm guessing from the internet. He's been held in solitary for his own safety. The chances of her making a mistake increases with every back and forth she has with him. Yes, Chad, I agree. She has to be super careful. And my wife's pointed out just how quick she's able to reset. I mean, my heart rate's still elevated watching some of these things. And she comes back on the record and she's calm, cool, and collected. And it's like his next interruption is the first time he's ever interrupted. And I don't know how she does it. It's amazing. Darrell Brooks is stacked against Darrell Brooks. That's funny. Let's see. Recovery addict. Not true. Read about jury nullification. Okay. Hardin, you've got a good point. Jury nullification. If there's one juror that thinks the judge has treated him unfair, they can vote to acquit based on that, and that's what jury nullification is. You're onto something. Jury nullification is a thing. It most likely is not going to be included in the instructions to the jury. But jurors, if they believe the law is unfair, I believe it has to be the law that they were accused of breaking. They can say he's not guilty because the law is unfair, and it nullifies the law instead of convicting the defendant. There's a lot of information on there. It's not common. It has happened in the past, but also, you've got to sort of look at how the court handles things. They might structure this in such a way that the jury feels that that's not an option. Whether or not it is, I won't get into that. If he takes a stand, how can he examine himself? That this will be something to see. I think the judge said that basically, if you take the stand, the prosecution will be asking you questions. But I don't know how that will go. I don't know if he's allowed to give them a list of questions they'll be asking him. Basically, acting at least a mouthpiece as his. I don't know. We'll see on Monday, right? I bet they make themselves feel better each night by listening to him cry on his jailhouse cells, begging his mom to get him out. I don't know. Yes, Judge Simpson and Judge Judy. HM Fan 2010. Considering his past, I would assume he has a platinum frequent. You're trying to trip me up on purpose. Platinum frequent flyer members card to all correctional facilities in all 50 states. Most of his convictions, I believe, are in Wisconsin. The one that the prosecution mentioned about involving his girlfriend being a minor at the time that she became pregnant is, I believe, in Nevada. Imagine Brooks versus Judge Judy. Oh, it would be a short episode, I can tell you that. He wouldn't make it till the break. All the anger, it's surprising that he hasn't been cussing. LDOT, I have lost bet after bet because I think this is going to be the day that he just lets loose and says how he really feels, and he's held it in. Got to give him credit there. I want to know the history of your backdrop. Are you the courthouse janitor on a long lunch? Subalpine Farmer. The history of my backdrop, actually, I got this from this is actually an image from the court. It's not from this court, but it's an image from the court. And this was provided because the whole pandemic situation courts had to operate differently, and they incorporated Zoom into their regular proceedings, so people were participating in the court proceedings from various locations. And to make it more clear as to who was who and what they were doing, the court provided backgrounds to use to also eliminate interruptions or distractions behind people, as well as sort of make it clear as to who's representing what. And this is one of the backgrounds that the prosecution or defense would use when they're making an argument to show that they're standing before the judge, talking to the judge. There's also one for the judge. They don't share that one, but there's a judge background. There's a witness background. They have several of them. So that's where I got the background. But great question. Grounds. Somebody said grounds for coffee. What was that? I missed it. I scrolled a little too fast. Okay, I'm not done yet. Okay, I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up here because we've got a lot of people here that are typing, and I do apologize. I've skipped so many comments, but I know we've got a few good moderators in here that have been answering some of those. If you have a question that you really want answered, tag me, put my name on there. I'll try to read all the ones that have orange on there because it highlights it for me. Harden 9, you said, so you're comparing your human fragility to being vegan. Got it. PG said they would have to be a sovereign citizen sympathizer. We're talking about the jurist if they let him off. You have to be a U.S. citizen to serve on a jury. Yeah, but I think a sovereign citizen or someone who holds to that would be able to get through if they wanted to. RGM tagged me and said, in Wisconsin versus Allen ended up gagged in court. Why doesn't she do that? RGM, this is a great point. She cites this several times, this case, and she lists, I believe, Wisconsin versus Allen lists 3 things at her disposal. One is contempt, one is removal, and one is gagging. I think those are the 3. But I think, and I said this earlier in the stream, I think that after the jury has reached their conclusion, when there's no longer anything that she can influence, anything that she would do that would influence the outcome of their decision, I believe if there are still proceedings that have to take place with him present, the possibility of him being gagged for those is very high, especially if there were something like witness statements before sentencing or something like that. I think that could happen. But clearly, can you imagine him being in court gagged in front of the jury? That's not a look that she's going to want. So that won't happen in front of the jury until they're going to be done with their case if that does happen.
Why does he continue?
Got a question from the side here.
No, it's from them. Why does he continue to stump them by saying that the state of Wisconsin can't appear in the courtroom? Why does that stump them?
Yeah. So my wife brings up one of you said why does he keeps talking about the state of Wisconsin, why they can't appear in the courtroom. So a lot of this, his accusations or his things he brings up, his grievances, I guess we'll call them, involving the plaintiff. You see almost every witness he questions, at the end of it, he's like, are you an injured party? Did you file a claim? Do you know anyone who's filed a claim? Do you know who the plaintiff is in this case? The plaintiff is the state of Wisconsin. He is Darrell Brooks is the defendant. The plaintiff is on the other side. The plaintiff is the person who is making the allegation against him. And he's confusing civil law with criminal law. In civil law, there has to be an injured party. You can't, just have Wisconsin sue someone type thing. The government entities file complaints in criminal court, and in civil court, you have individuals that file complaints. And so he's confusing those two and saying, well, since there isn't entity or a living, breathing person who is the state of Wisconsin, you can't have a complaint against me. Where's the injured party type thing? Well, I can tell you where the injured party is. 6 of them are buried, and the state as a whole has the right to protect the interests of all the citizens in the state, including the 6 who won't be able to testify because their life was taken. So the state has an interest there, and it's rightfully their position to be able to bring a claim against the defendant for their death, for the death of the individuals. Okay, so a lot of you have tagged me here, and that's what I told you to do. So I've got to answer those questions here. Leon King, I'm going to jump down to that. It will not be till conviction or sentencing when he pops, says Leon. Possible. I think it'll happen sooner. I think as the closer we get, I really do have my money on him going off in court on a rant. And I do think if he does, the judge will first excuse the jury immediately and then walk off the bench and shut it down because he knows that this is live streamed. And I think some of what he's doing is for that. Because we've heard from previous testimony that Darrell Brooks watches the news stories about the court case during the day. Montag 451 says, recovery addict, what are the different roles of the three different prosecutors? Basically, one is the lead prosecutor, the district attorney, and the others are assistants. Their different roles are basically, the case is so large. There are so many different witnesses. There are so many different things to handle and to address that they just divide and conquer. So you'll see, depending on what the witness is, one defense lawyer will be the person who makes the objections for that person because they're the one who has done all the work and the homework and studied that person's testimony and know the whole background of their story. It's just like having a specialist for each individual person instead of having one lawyer that has to know everything. And that's something the judge brought up when Darrell was when he fired his lawyers. She said, look, the prosecution will be able to divide and conquer. They'll be able to take turns. While one person is doing the questioning, the next one could be like, hey, let's pursue this, this avenue. And you won't have that luxury. You'll have to do everything yourself. But that's why there are three. Great question, though. Thank you. Next tagged one. PG says, remember the time he declared he was not gagged? He was not gagged or bound, like Darrell was giving her her ideas. Fun times indeed. Yeah, he did bring it up. He basically said, "You've got these options. Why haven't you done those?" And she's like, "I'm getting to it. We just ordered the gag. Amazon Prime 2-day delivery." Hearted 9 says, "What on earth is justifying Brooks having shock shackles around his ankles in court?" I've answered this already. I don't think they're shock shackles. I think they're most likely just ankle shackles that have basically the same technology as your home confinement, your house arrest type anklets. Basically like a GPS. In the case he escapes, in the case he gets away, it's a tracking thing. That's my belief. I don't believe they're shock. The judge has not said anything about them. The bailiffs, I've never heard of anyone having a shock, collar or a shock ankles or something. You really shock someone's ankles? Not just, I don't know. I guess it could work. It would make their legs, buckle. But Gorilla Tape, good stuff. There's an idea. Let's see. Is there anything else that I need to answer here? Explains a lot. I'm learning a lot. Not enough to serve as my own attorney, but HM fan, don't serve as your own attorney, please. Unless you can pass the bar exam prior to committing the offense, don't serve as your own attorney. There are a few people who have been able to do this successfully, but definitely not in a case of this magnitude. It's impossible. Beautiful Waterfall said, I missed a couple here. Let's go back. We did Hardin. Kevlar Raps says, what is subject jurisdiction? He's talking about subject matter jurisdiction. This is an idea that stems from the sovereign citizen, or as Darrell Brooks called it, just sovereign, where he says, I am my own man. I am in charge of myself. No one else can tell me what to do. No one else can have authority over me in any way unless I grant them that authority. And because of that, prove to me that you have authority over me. It's an argument that can't be proven because you're basically saying any evidence you present is not valid. So prove that you have evidence. It's a circular logic. The judge knows it's circular logic. She addressed it in a written document that she provided to both the prosecution and the defense. Darrell tore his up as the jury was walking out of court one day, and he says, "I don't accept that. You still have to prove it in open court." Meaning you have to logically debate this with me in front of the jury and win in order for me to accept that you have the right to act as you do as a judge. Anyway, great question, Kevlar. So beautiful waterfall says again, my concern is that the jury may not agree on Brooks's intent, which means they could get hung up on unanimous convictions. This is possible. They're including lesser charges along with first-degree murder. Okay, it is possible. It's possible that the intent that needs to be proven is not proven in the minds of the jury, and so then we have the option that, and we'll find this out in jury instruction, if they're given instruction, they can find him guilty of a lesser charge, which would carry a lesser penalty. And that's a possibility. They could just find him not guilty because all the elements of each charge was not proven. And that's also a possibility. I don't think it's very likely, just given that, there's so much evidence. There's so much evidence that that they know what happened before. They know he was in a fight. They know he was angry. They know that he took off. They have video of him driving. They have so much evidence of the acceleration. I think the intent. I think the intent has been proven, though we may never know the motive, other than just he was mad. So great question there. If he does, I told this earlier, if he does get convicted of all 76 charges, because one charge was dropped, all 76 charges against him, and he gets the maximum penalty, the maximum sentence for each charge, it is 1,231 years in prison that can be served consecutively. And there are only a few people in the Bible that would be able to outlive that. So, that's a life sentence. Let's see, learning a lot, not enough to serve as my own attorney. Yeah, I saw that one. That was funny. If DB had a different upbringing with structure, a different environment, he could have been president. Lee, I'm gonna let you be alone in that opinion. I don't think it. I don't think he. I don't know. I'll just say I wouldn't vote for him right now. Okay, we skipped. It keeps updating in batches because you guys are typing so fast. I've heard they are shock ankles. Not sure though. Okay, so it's a possibility. I'll have to research that before Monday, before we start. I'll see if I can find out about those shock ankles. Maybe I can order a pair and we could test them on the live stream. That would be neat. Maybe my junior deputy would be the one that pushes the button and you see me. That would be really cool. Life is about 7 years in California, says Eric. It seems to happen that way. It depends if these sentences are without the possibility of parole, and I believe some of them are, especially because of the aggravating factors of with a deadly weapon. C. Honda says, who decides his exact sentencing? The judge or the jury? In Wisconsin, it's the judge. There's a sentencing phase that the judge presides over. The jury only determines the guilt. That's my understanding. Girl Power says, are they trying for death? No, not in Wisconsin. No death penalty there. Rob's S says, Recovery Addict, he is honestly having a Twitter flame war in his head while everybody else is engaged in a murder trial. Oh, man. These comments are great. No death penalty in Wisconsin, Debbie, that's correct. Will Jackson's family testify? If they do, Sweet D, if they do, it would be in the witness impact statements that are typically given immediately prior to the sentencing, which is done by the judge. Jay Giza says he still has no defense. We have not seen it yet, although Monday might be a different story, especially with his mom testifying. Wisconsin doesn't have the death penalty. It's just a lot of life sentences. As for rap, may I suggest Tom McDonald and New Breed with Jess Howard. Glenn, thanks for the rap suggestions. Definitely, if you're searching for a new rap artist, just do not type Math Boy Fly. You'll be disappointed. I think people are missing the key here. He said in the interrogation that his life is over. Now he's mocking the court because he has nothing to lose. AJ, you're right. He knew early on exactly what he was facing. He's basically said, why should I give you anything, was basically what I took from how he was responding. Why should I do anything to help you? Because I know that all options are gone for me. And so why would I help? And all he can do is go down kicking and swinging. Intent kicks in after he fails to stop after hitting the first person, in my opinion. That's from Postcards from Protest. Okay, so that if that's the case, then maybe that would be why the prosecution was so intent, if you pardon the pun there, intent on asking witnesses if after he hit them, if he slowed down or stopped or got out of the vehicle to check on them or or anything of that nature. And every person testified that he did not. I was wondering if the courts are aware he's a gang member. He was throwing up gang songs in the video he was making. Yeah, there's quite a bit of that. I believe it's a blood-related gang anyway, just from the colors and some of the signs he was throwing. There was also appeared to be a firearm. I thought it was a Tech 9. Somebody said it was a Mac 9. In the video, it may have been a replica firearm, but that's interesting because Mr. Brooks does have a conviction for possession of a firearm by a felon. But if you do watch the video, and I don't recommend it, and if you do watch it, I recommend you keep the volume down. But if you do, look for the parts where he's rubbing his $200 bills together and talking about his fat stacks of cash as he stands in front of his Ford SUV. Anyway, Brooks is wasting people's time. Killer Rap says, would he take the stand? If so, how does this work if you're your own lawyer? Killer, I haven't seen it happen recently enough to be able to answer that. And it may look different depending on the state. But from what I've heard in the pretrial questioning of Mr. Brooks by the judge, she said basically, if you agree to testify and you are your own lawyer, the prosecution will be asking you questions. But since he has the right to take the stand, he also basically has, that's his time to tell his side. And so he's got to have some sort of authority or leeway to be able to make sure the right questions are asked so he can tell that. And I don't know how that's going to happen, but we'll see that on Monday if it does happen. I still think it's about 50-50, maybe 75-25. Black and Red Bible Study. Brooks is wasting people's time. He's guilty. He appears to be so in my mind. Obviously, from a legal perspective, he's innocent until proven guilty. But I think that will be resolved fairly soon. Anthony B., is there a reason why Brooks pushes for contempt and the judge seems to be purposefully declaring that he's not being held in contempt? Yes, because contempt would get him thrown out of the courtroom and into a jail cell. And as soon as that happens, the progress on the case stops. The judge cannot proceed if both the defendant and his attorney are not present in the courtroom. And that's what he wants. These delay tactics, everything he's been throwing up constantly is to slow it down and delay, and that would accomplish it. That's why she's not holding him contempt. But the gag is still an option. I do think there's a chance of that coming in. Hardin says, recovery addict, if I was a juror, I would vote to acquit because prosecutors are overcharging the case. First degree requires premeditation. You can't prove premeditation in this particular case. I believe the charge was intentional homicide with a deadly weapon. I'd have to look at the actual wording of the charge. I'll have to go back. I'll do that as my homework. Welcome all. Hit like, subscribe, notification, ring bell, and share. Roxanne, thanks for being here. Hope you didn't miss all of it. Roxanne has been a rock star in our live streams, and appreciate her being a mod on here. So thanks, Roxanne. Let's see. Glenn says, I think a shock collar would not only be warranted, but would make for spectacular entertainment. It would, but at the same time, it can't be in front of the jury. This is their problem. That's why he's shackled, and the table has a tablecloth around it, so you can't see that he's shackled to the ground. I do expect at some point, I did expect on Friday that he brought up in front of the jury that he's shackled in place, but he didn't. It came close, but he didn't. I hope everyone understands he's trying to blame Erica because he thinks Erica caused him to get upset. Susan, you're right. This is as close, I think, as we got to his reason for why he did it. In his original investigation, in the original interrogation, I think not the one with the FBI in the room, but when they were in the other room, he said, all I can say is that I wouldn't be here if I hadn't talked to that or hadn't gone to see that woman. Talking about Erica. So I think there is definitely an element of blame on her, and we know from what he's told us that he went to see her because she had supposedly $300 of his that she was holding for him. And when he came to pick it up, for one reason or another, he was not able to get that money. Who changed name to M. Woods? What? Shane, I didn't see that. I'll have to look. Do you think his mom will testify, and what are the ramifications to her legally? Do you think prosecutors will go after her if she assists? Okay, so J. Mark, the ramification legally, I think you're insinuating that there's a possibility she could commit perjury. Is that what you're getting at? Because there's been something presented by the prosecution already saying that she's assisted in part of the picture issue with Erica, and if she has and lies about it, that would be perjury on the stand. It's generally not prosecuted unless it's really major, and in this situation, I don't think she would be prosecuted. I really don't. But yes, she could be charged with it if that's what it would have to be proven, and it's difficult to prove those sort of things, especially where that's not something where there's a lot of evidence. They might be able to digitally produce it. It might be evidence that they have on the jail phone. If she admits it on the phone and then lies about it in court, maybe that's enough to prove it. All prisons have the death penalty. Music is life. I know where you're going with that. I don't believe in vigilante justice. I don't think that serves our communities. And I've touched on this lightly, but I do, just my personal belief, my religious belief is that I hold firmly, is that there is a day of reckoning, and that the scales, as unfair as they have been in life, or may have been for some people in life, that it will be balanced out, that all the wrongs will be righted, and no one will really escape and get away with murder, so to speak. That's why I say that. I agree. Why are we wasting time? He's guilty. Melissa, it feels like a waste of time sometimes, but this is the process. This is how we have to go through to let him get his fair trial. Our whole judicial system is built around the idea that we'd rather a guilty man goes free than an innocent man goes to prison. And this is the process that we try to make sure that happens. His mother is going to testify, I think, for sure. I think he should. As a son, thinking about my mom, I think it will be very hard for his mom to testify emotionally. Talking about these things and what the prosecution is undoubtedly going to bring up will be extremely difficult. But I don't think Darrell cares about that. I think what's most important is how it could possibly aid him or allow him to bring out information that he wants. The question is, would he be able to stick to the evidence enough to actually have her testify about the event and anything that might mitigate or put doubt in the jury's mind about what he did? Or is it all going to be about how he was mistreated since then? How can anyone think this guy is innocent or support him? Give me a break. Junior, I know, I hear where you're coming from there, but at the same time, he's innocent until proven guilty legally. So we can't say he is guilty because so far he hasn't been proven guilty. We can only say that in our minds we may be convinced that the evidence is overwhelming against him. But once the jury does their work, I think for sure, that will resolve that issue for everybody. Okay, I'm not seeing too many more flags. First of all, guys, thank you all for being here. We've got about 1,000 people here in chat, and just I want to answer all the questions you guys have. If you have more, I'll try to answer them. As I've said before, I'm not a lawyer or a judge. I just play one on YouTube, but I would like to share the information I do have. I do love to research law. I do love to watch court cases from the outside. I have no desire to be in court on either side of the bench, but although maybe a jury. I think I could be a juror. Fun fact, I've never been subpoenaed to be a juror. And I have a very close relative who immigrated here as a child from a country, a Scandinavian country, and that relative has been subpoenaed multiple times, even though they are not a citizen. So go figure. Abby UK, I've been in UK for a couple of years. How are you guys doing over there? If the judge finds she's had enough and leaves, what would happen? Abby, I've mentioned this before. The judge has an identical twin sister. This is no joke. She has an identical twin sister. And I think that twin sister would just step in and fill in, and we'd never be the wiser, right? No, she's this judge has a lot of experience. She's been a judge since 2011. She's been reelected twice. Judges in Wisconsin are elected. It's an elected position, as are the clerks, as a matter of fact. You've heard a lot of information about the clerks in the court, about the clerk's not giving me my paperwork, whatever. The clerk is elected. If you don't like the job the clerk's doing, vote her out. So that's interesting. How much longer will the trial go? Magic, it should wrap early next week, and we should be in deliberations by midweek. Let's see. There's Casey Anthony. We thought that was a slam dunk. Amy Farrell, you're right. I don't know what to say. We thought that was a slam dunk as well. Allegedly, until jury decides, that's true. The jury is the determiner of the facts. The judge just rules on the law. No death penalty in Wisconsin. Did I miss any other comments here? That's why there's no death penalty. Okay, his mom will have to call an Uber because her car got totaled. Let's see. Under 90611, please read this comment. Ryan, I got your comment. So ordered. It's now in the record, for the record. But thank you for your comment. Appreciate you being here. How is he going to address her? So, Mama, let me get this right. I don't know. And honestly, this is part of me that just the human side of me thinks this, although it's going to be intriguing and I'm going to be watching at the same time, it's going to be heartbreaking to watch, because I know that this mom's going to be put through even more as she's on the stand. And, Red Girl is not a fan of bringing up Casey Anthony. Lots of frowny emojis. Angry frowny emojis. Mama, what the business? The What the Business song, Jeff, if you guys listen to that, it's one of the rap songs. I think this defendant has released like 40 songs. I don't know if he has a record label or if it's all just, I mean, it's I guess you'd say semi-professional, but I don't know. He's got a song where he just says, what the business, what the business, what the business, what the business, like 50 times in a row. That's both the chorus and the verse. I guess if you don't know how to rap, you just repeat. If this guy was God given this, hang on, what are we saying here? Robert, I'm trying to read your comment. Given this would have never happened. I don't know where you're going with that. I might have missed it, or maybe there's a little typo. I know sometimes autocorrect gets us, so if you can repost that in language that a 6-year-old would understand, I should be able to get it for you. PG. Let's see. He is a higher burden on taxpayers. It's the system. It's a burden that the system bears. No death penalty in Wisconsin. We talked about that. We've got a sovereign citizen. Who was that? I missed that. Do we have a sov cit in here? Somebody said, I'm a sovereign citizen, so I can't be on a jury. I'd love to get some information from you. I personally don't ascribe to that philosophy, but it does intrigue me a little bit, and maybe you could shed some light on some of the things he's doing, especially when it comes to how he sees that he's representing himself pro per instead of per se, or per. I forget. It's the judge has said basically it means the same thing. It means you're representing yourself without counsel, but. Slow mode might be no. I think we're good. We've used flags. I know a lot of this discussion is you guys talking to each other, and I'm trying not to read all those back and forth comments. But if you want me to read something or have a question, just put a flag with my name on it, and I'll try to catch all those as they go. Rob ZS, recovery addict. Does he have a stated position on the events in question? That is to say, has he stated whether or not he claims he was in the car? He does not even agree that he is Darrell Brooks. That's as far as we've gotten. His mom, when she talked on the news, did basically say that they've talked about it, and he says he didn't know. He doesn't know why he did it. He doesn't know what happened, and he's almost. I think she was getting at that he can't remember, and that only God knows what happened there. and that he has remorse and things like that. I just haven't seen that come from him himself. Yes, if there's a sovereign citizen out there that can shed some light on any of this that we haven't discussed yet, please chime in here. We'd love to hear from you. And honestly, I won't be mocking you. Let's see. Pro se, thank you, PG. Pro se, but he calls it pro per, which is a slight different meaning. But the judges ruled to the court that it's treated the same. Leon wants to call in Monday. Okay, let's do Monday. We'll do if you're early on Monday, we might do some call-ins. So you hit the subscribe button. I think I'll be live at least 15 minutes before the trial starts, and I think it's like 8 or 9 in the morning. So just be ready in the morning. That's Eastern time. Be ready in the morning. Watch for that little notification, and I'll throw my number up there and get spammed with phone calls and put some of you guys on the air. Robert says, if I may rephrase, okay, look, I've had 2 heart attacks, died. Jesus is forgiveness. He needs to stop lying. Robert, sorry about the heart attacks. Not sure we were going there. Bill Barrett says, recovery addict, do you think he will ask for a public defender to handle the appeal? Yes and no. I think there will be multiple appeals. I think some will be filed independently and some will be filed with counsel. But if it's filed with counsel, I don't believe he has the right to a public defender. I think you'll have to pay for that at that point. I don't think you have the right to free attorneys for life when you're convicted. Although there, like I said, we mentioned this before, there may be attorneys who are trying to make a name for themselves, who want the chance to get a guilty person out of jail just to show that they can. And so there might be someone who's willing to take the case pro bono. Rob ZS says, my understanding is that initially when he still had counsel, his position was not guilty by reason of insanity. Yes, Robs, you're right. There was a plea entered of not guilty by way of insanity. It's an NGI plea. There were 4 mental evaluations made by 4 PhDs, 4 doctors. 3 of them, all 4 of them found that he was competent, and 3 of them found that he had a personality disorder. I don't know what personality disorder they said he had, but that's where I believe shortly after that plea was withdrawn, because how do you say you're incompetent when you're found competent medically? So anyway, that plea was there, but that's off the table. So I don't think the jury even will hear about that. Okay, Christy says, Markeith Lloyd of Florida had stun cuffs in court last year. Okay, so stun cuffs. Let's. I'll get on Amazon. I'm pretty sure you can buy anything on Amazon and see if we can find the stun cuffs. I'm not sure if we can have them for the live stream on Monday, but I'll do most things once. Okay. Dylan Wyans, you've got a question here. It says, the thing I don't understand is this whole plaintiff argument. But then at his opening statement, he spoke on the suffering of victims. That just shows total lack of remorse. Yes, you're pointing out the logical fallacies in his thinking. The plaintiff argument is basically saying, because the state of Wisconsin is the plaintiff, and the state of Wisconsin is not an entity, you can't have them file a charge against me. Since they're not the injured party, they're not a real person, they can't file the complaint. This is true in civil law, but not in criminal law. So he's confusing the two. He refuses to accept that's the case, and he keeps hitting that button. Let's see. The stun cuffs, I'm going to have to look those up, so thanks for that. Although, would Amazon sell those, really? Is there another website? Probably somewhere on the dark web. His entire opening statement was a Tackett confession. Beautiful waterfall. I love that. Every time he says, I refuse to be called that name, I don't know anyone by that name. I haven't given consent to be called that name. I believe that's a confession. What is his issue? Is he wants to bring in the streets to court? What his issue is, he wants to bring in the streets to court. Robert, I almost got that one. It's late. My mind is not as sharp as it was earlier this morning. Try me one more time with that one, and I'll give it a shot. Jay Hughes says, you are 75 subs shy of 1K. Jay, that's awesome. Thanks for pointing that out. I appreciate you guys subbing. I like to talk with people, and my kids have had enough of it. So I thank you guys for being willing victims or participants. Excuse me. Let's see. He wants to be a sovereign citizen, have the constitutional rights. He wants both. Yes, there's Jay Giza. That is exactly it. Sovereign citizen, protect my constitutional rights. The irony is probably not lost on the judge, but he wants it both ways. Have his cake and eat it too. They sent him for a PSY eval, a PSY eval, sorry, and he is competent. Yes, Debbie, that's what happened. Four people found him competent. And the judge questioned him extensively, and basically said, "Yeah, it's your right, and there's nothing that he's given her to say that he's not. She is too soft on him. A lot of people think that." Darrell asked Erica if she called him by that name, and she said no. Why didn't he ask her what name then? AJ, great question. I was hoping that, first of all, I know she's a hostile witness for him, right? She does not want to testify to help him in any way. And I was hoping that she would respond maybe with some expletives of what she calls him more recently. But she didn't. They didn't follow up. All he did was leave it there, basically saying, that's not what I call you. And we know from previous testimony that they had sort of pet names for each other. But they were, how many of you have a pet name for your wife or your girlfriend? Hopefully you don't have both, unless it's the same person. And that person is Darrell Brooks. Anyway, no, that sounded wrong. It went way south. Sorry about that, guys. I apologize for that thought process. So we've got one here. It is these people in the SovSit community that are trying to get SovSits on juries to win SovSit cases so they can make it seem like their stuff works, so they can sell more study guides. It's their marketing funnel. This is how they advertise. I'm a sovereign citizen. I have American rights. Byron, solution handyman. Hey Byron, I probably need you to come do some repair at my house. If he appeal, will he be in a regular jail? Okay, so here's what happens. If he's found guilty, this is the only way he can appeal, right? If he's found guilty, then he has rights to appeal. If he's not found guilty, there's nothing to appeal, right? So the only way he can appeal is if they find him guilty. And at that point, basically everything he says that went wrong in court, they can appeal. You can't appeal and say, actually, I'm not guilty, right? That's already been found. They can't retry that, okay? They're not going to say that, but he can say, I didn't have defense, or wasn't provided with something that constitutionally I'm allowed to have, or this was done improperly. He'll basically have to point to a flaw in the system and in the process and say, because of this, I did not receive a fair trial. And that's going to be the appeal. And that appeal can go straight to the appellate court, or he can try to bypass and go straight to the Supreme Court, depending on the type of issue he's raising in Wisconsin. He can go to the Supreme Court there and possibly it'll be heard. I know in those courts, both the appellate and the Supreme Court in Wisconsin, they hear about 10% of the cases that are presented to them. And of those that they hear, like in the appellate court, a fraction of those get passed on to the Supreme Court. So I don't think his odds are very good. How long till Kim Kardashian and the Innocence Project make a documentary about how he was framed? Oh, man, too soon. Let's see. I will say, you bring something up. After this trial is over, if he is convicted, we will see a civil trial. Then he'll get his civil trial with a plaintiff, where the families of the victims and the victims themselves will most likely sue him. Not because he has any money, but because there's a possibility that he could try to sell his story to make money, or sell the movie rights, or sell the book rights, or something like that. And so they'll sue him to try to prevent him from profiting off his crime. The amounts of money the individuals, the families will get is almost nothing, really. I mean, when it comes down to it, when it's divided among all the people that were injured, it won't add up to much. It's really just peace of mind, knowing that well, he's locked away for the rest of his life, if that's the case. He's not also building up a nest egg for his descendants type thing and profiting off this crime. Anyway, so if that documentary happens, any money that he makes from that he wouldn't get, in my opinion. Kimberly Lucas, Elena Jameson claimed they didn't remember doing it. Both of them killed their children, right? Pled guilty to avoid possibility of the death penalty, but maintained she didn't remember. I don't know how he can say he didn't remember. He's literally almost testified in his questioning, saying, well, that's not how I remember it, or that's not how it happened, type thing. It's almost come out so many times. I don't know how he could do that. HM fan, I saw that, the Miss Patterson money issue. No, she is not going to have to pay him anything, I think. Subscribe, hit that bell. Thanks, Roxanne. I appreciate you tapping that button for me. The Kim Kardashian comment was hilarious. Let's see. We've got a few. Oh, man. You guys just keep typing. I'm trying to answer all your questions. Okay, so let me just say, if somebody can just put in chat and teach the people who don't know how to tag me, the Recovery Addict tag, you'll see the orange tag in chat. I'm going to try to just read those and just catch up and do that. So Isabel Rennie says, laugh my assets off. I looked at your channel name and I went, oh, he's a recovery addict. Then I was like, wait, LMAO. Okay, so I told this story earlier. Let me just say that when I went to make a YouTube channel, mistakes were made, right? I own up to that. At some point, I will fix it. But in my head, I thought, I like metal detecting. I'm addicted to recovering lost artifacts out of the ground. I'm a recovery addict. So I chose that name and I booked it across all of social media. I've got it on TikTok, I've got it on Instagram, I've got it on Facebook, I've got it on Twitter, and I've got it on YouTube. And I'm like, yay, I'm a recovery addict. And then I started getting all these guys, hey man, how long have you been sober? Comments. I'm like, oh crap. So you hit the nail on the head there. Maybe if you could make a suggestion of what I should change my channel name to, should it be like Trial Addict? And we could just do this. But I do like metal detecting. It's fun. If you want to watch my TikTok videos, I have one that went viral. Just this week, it went over 10 million views, which was super exciting, because in TikTok money, that means it's worth like $4. Anyway, no appeal if he doesn't have money, right? It will cost some money for that. But I think, as we mentioned, there will be some pro bono things. Leon King, thanks for pointing it out. At Recovery Addict. Nothing to read there, though. Let's see. Could he win on a technicality? He is so shady. Yes, it's possible. He could win on a technicality, although I think that win would be an appeal, not on the actual trial. I have a hard time seeing him found not guilty on this one, barring a sovereign citizen type scenario on the jury. Okay. Robs, as a sober alcoholic active in recovery, I was so confused. Robs, congratulations. I'm proud of you. That is awesome. More power to you. That is cool. The recovery process is amazing, and to hear you're in recovery, that is great. I'm not making fun of that at all, and I regret choosing that only because of people are they're not getting what they were looking for when they searched for that name, and that's my regret there. Sweet Jesse the Scoundrel, Scott, recovery addict. Yes. Okay. Metal detection. Well, sometimes they find treasures, but not in the U.S. I've done pretty well. I found a gold coin. That was my best find ever. It was a 1834 $5 gold coin minted in New Orleans. That was pretty cool. Okay, a few more here. Conversation corner. Okay, we're getting to the name suggestion. There's got to be a prize for whoever has the winning name, right? What would the prize be? Make your suggestion there too. Too funny. I work in alcohol drug rehab. That's cool. I think it's a catchy name, but definitely it does not fit my channel. I thought you were the self-helper Alcoholics Anonymous or something. Yeah, I need to fix it. Relic recovery addict. Okay, that's a good one. Chandra, that I like where you're going there as far as the metal detecting goes. How long do you think before the verdict? Chris Sherry. The verdict, I think deliberation will be 2 days or less. That's my prediction, which would mean that it should come next week. I say that because I think it will be 2 days because one full day will just be filling out the forms. There are 76 forms they need to fill out, and they're, signatures and dates and timestamps and, all that stuff. Because DB is going to want the originals. So, verified proof. Can an appeal reduce a sentence? Oh, Eric, if it's an appeal, it basically, if he wins an appeal, I guess this is your question. Eric Craig says, can an appeal reduce a sentence? If he wins an appeal, he's let out and they do a retry. They start over. But basically it's not considered double jeopardy in that case. So yes, if he appeals successfully and is let out and is tried again, it's possible that they would go for a lesser charge the second time, and it could have a reduced sentence. Does that make sense? But it would be a lot of hypotheticals to make that happen. The judge is keeping the record. Yes. Seriously, what is lawful law? Lawful law. He's trying to get at like natural law, I think is what he's saying. This, like the core basis of all truth and existence. I am my own man. Thus, the only thing that's lawful is that I exist and do what I want, type thing. That's like the basis of the law that he's getting at. And so when he says, is it a lawful law or is it one that compels me to do something I don't want to do? He's basically saying, all your laws I don't accept. So is it one of your laws or one of my laws? That's where he's saying with lawful law. I explore woods without detectors and have collected extremely old medicine bottles and found an old bootleg bottle. Roxanne, that is awesome. I love bottle digging. We'll have to talk about that sometime. Let's see. Willing to bet my last dollar he won't live long in jail. Kathleen, I think because of that, he will be kept in solitary confinement, just like he has been for the last year. What is presenter's name? Shane O'Neill. You asking about me? My first name is Scott, if that's of any significance. Let's see. Recovery from alcoholism, 1 year. Byron, awesome. Congratulations. Keep that coin 1 year, and I hope you have many more years after that as well. Trial addict is good. Lisa's vote for that. Okay. Questionable question. I object. On what grounds? Darrell Brooks thinks he's a hero. In his mind, he's Malcolm X. He definitely has an opinion of himself that I don't think many people share. Man, that went so fast. I just scrolled and boom. Okay, so we're going back to just the orange. Sorry, I was trying to catch everybody's. Rob Z. Honestly, I think that's hilarious. I'd keep it if I were you. Okay, I've done it for a while. Judge Dora looks like Monica Lewinsky. Really? We were talking on Friday. We were saying if you went to a Halloween party with Judge Dora, what would she show up as? And I think the best comment was Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the late Supreme Court Justice. But Monica Lewinsky, just because of the black hair, it's interesting. Tina Minutes says, if he chooses to testify, I want to see what he says when the judge tells him to speak and spell his full name. I am here as a third-party intervener on behalf of my client. Yeah, I don't know how that's going to go. I believe if he does that, if he pulls that stunt with his name, the judge will just make an entry in the record saying that, like she did before, like she did with Erica. Because if you saw when Erica took the stand, the DB actually protested and sort of objected and say, what, you didn't ask her to spell her name? Like, she didn't know how or something. I don't know what he was trying to get at. And she's like, well, it's been in evidence already. The asking to spell the name, that's just for the court stenographer's benefit so she can get it right. It's not like a legal requirement to spell your name before testifying type thing. So I don't think she'll require him to spell his name. But I think she'll ask him who he is. What do you want us to call you? now that the process is over. Anyway, Abby in the UK says, would the witness get any help with the trauma they have had from having to be on the stand? Help like therapy? Abby, yes. There have been some GoFundMes, some successful GoFundMes where people have contributed a significant amount of money to help people who are victims, who are hurt either physically or mentally traumatized by this event. And there are several of them up there, several organizations that have been very active in doing that. Some of them were even mentioned on the stand. People had acknowledged that they had applied or filed a claim trying to get help because of that. So yes, there is some of that, and rightfully so. I mean, having to recall these and testify this, especially when we saw on Friday with when he subpoenaed that mom who had 4 kids who were hit by him. And he's asking all these questions, never once mentions the kids. And then on cross, the state brought that up, and he was objecting all over the place. And yeah, I think she's a hero. Addicted to recovery, says Chuck. Sorry, Chuck, I shouldn't have read that one because you didn't tag me in it. Ewokies Amokis says, did I say that right? Recovery addict, do you think the state has proven intent? I think they have. I think they have sufficiently. That's my personal belief. La 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 la. Did I say that right? La 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 la. I like that name. Amber Creek Metal Detective. Okay, that's a good one. High Speed Drifter says, would you like it if Wisconsin had the death penalty and Brooks was executed on live TV? No. I've said this before. I do believe there's a place for the death penalty. I believe it is 100% effective at curing recidivism. The big word that you know what I meant, but I cannot say today. It means repeat offense. To my knowledge, everyone who has been executed has not committed the same crime again. So in that way, it's very effective. I believe it does deter crime, but doesn't prevent it entirely. But we're getting into some religious beliefs there too as well. But I don't think public executions are just things I want my kids watching. There's some things that I don't need them to see on TV. Erica Morrison says, I think addict detector is cool. Also, I found Mr. Brooks' rap video on YouTube. Oh, I'm sorry. It's pretty bad. LOL. Relic Recoverist is Crazy Lamp Lady's metal detecting channel. I happen to be familiar with her. Let's see. I think we're almost done here with the orange comments. La 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 says again, I often tell people I'm a recovering lawyer because I don't practice anymore, so that's where my mind went. Courtroom recovery addict. I could just add courtroom in front of it. Mary Kay, that's a good idea. Bill Barrett, do you think the prosecution would accept life with parole plea at this point? No, I don't think they will. And Bill, you bring up a good point. There was a point that they offered a plea to Darrell. He says that his representation never presented it to him, although they testified that they had. But that plea was basically you plead guilty to, I think the 6 charges without the aggravated one or something, and you just accept life in prison without parole. So they're basically, in doing that, in offering this plea that basically is maximum sentence, they're saying our case is so strong, we think we can prove every single element in this, and we don't have to give you anything. All it would do is spare some of the witnesses from testifying. And they do want to do that. The prosecution doesn't want to drag witnesses through this. The state doesn't want to have all the expense of the jury selection and everything else. But, they offered that. I don't think that offer is still good. I don't think he could, change his mind and accept it right before sentencing. Rob says, libertarians should honestly vote to acquit. I'll have to hear more about that. Why do you say that, Rob Z? Okay. And I scrolled, and then it scrolled fast. Cynthia says, what was his reason for removing his mask in his opening statement? I think that was the only part of his opening statement that he really prepared. He's like, I'm going to stand up, I'm going to remove my mask and show them who I really am. And it was exactly who we had seen before that. But Jay Hughes says, not me. I like my wine. Drank. Let's see. I think he's talking about recovering. Scott the Relic Hunter. We got some of those in there. Another Rob Z. Honestly, she's a more attractive and actually intelligent Sarah Palin. So we've got a cross between Monica Lewinsky and Sarah Palin, which is a unique mix just from the political standpoint. But that's interesting. Sanita Moses says, Mary Kay. She says to Mary Kay, courtroom recovery addict is awesome. So a second vote for that one. Epiphonium. What does epiphonium mean? Is that a musical instrument? I think it is. Says recovery addict, if he doesn't accept laws, can I borrow my mom's car and run him over? I'll just say I won't object, but no, you can't. Brooks couldn't spell intervener. It clearly, he's copy and pasted some of what he reads in court. I'm not sure if he really understands all the words that he says. Ivan Githsberg, I know you didn't tag me. He said, all due respect, but the judge is so attractive and patient. We've had a couple people mention in chat that they have a thing for the judge. And all I'll say is she has a twin sister. I know that this one, the judge, is married. I'm not sure about the twin, so that's why I bring that up. Erica Morrison says, right, I was wondering that too. If he calls Darrell Brooks to the stand and then he goes up, does he just null and void his entire claim? Yeah, who's he going to call? That's a good question. Ghostbusters. L. says, recovery addict votes for metal detective. I think that one might be taken. I think so. Because that's another thing. I have to find a name that's not taken. And I don't like adding random characters to my name. Jay Hughes says he won't spell his name. He'll just give out his jail ID number. It's going to have that memorized. Rob Z, the poor coach of the dancing team. Honestly, I wish he could have been muzzled during that testimony. Oh, yeah. That was rough. S. Talbot says, but what was the motive or intent? Okay, I don't know. We've talked a little bit about motive. I'm not sure if we'll ever find out. I'm not sure if he'll address it. From what I've heard about his mom talking, she doesn't know what it is or what he was thinking, what went through his head. She seems to say that he doesn't remember. Intent is going to be linked back to that domestic abuse that predicated this incident. I think that's why they're charging that with them. They're linking that domestic to this and not having them as separate instances because that was the intent. The angry, he was mad at his girlfriend for not giving him money. He was mad that people had intervened when he was assaulting her apparently, and all that, and that plays to his intent. And then all the witnesses that talk about his the look he gave and the speeding up and never slowing down type thing. I think that'll all play in. I think they've proven intent. Epiphonium says, can we have a Sovset parade in Waukesha and a GoFundMe, a cruise in the same day for Mama's SUVs? Oh, man. Too soon. Okay. Dead Men Tell No Lies. I saw that. I didn't see who said that. Sorry. La 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 Lee says, have you ever watched Emily D. Baker? No. Well, tell me why I should. I'm not like challenging, but like literally tell me a little about that. Christy says, recovery addict, we need to create a Sovset bingo game for the rest of DB's case. Whew, that's a good idea. I'm still thinking of prizes. What would we give away as prizes to the winner? Christy says, the Sovset bingo game. John Lucas, I'll read this even though you didn't tag me. Amazing channel, thank you. What name and initials did he use when he signed the self-representation form? The judge didn't read it. All we know is that he signed, and he says he signed it using his natural name, which I believe is Darrell Brooks, just with lowercase letters. That's about it. Proudman02 says, recovery addict, is he trying to make a case of mistaken identity? Does he have a twin? Why doesn't he want to be called by his name? I think the whole reason he doesn't want to be called by his name is the capitalization on the charging document, which is just screwy. Because look, let me show you this. If you haven't seen, I'll throw this up right here. we'll switch over here. Oops, I'll make it bigger so you can see. Sorry, it's been a long day, guys. This is his ID card, not driver's license, but an ID card he was found in possession of when he was arrested. And you can see there at the top, Brooks Darrell Edward Jr. is all in capital letters. All the documentation he had identified him as Darrell Brooks. His ID card says in capital letters. I don't know why he doesn't accept it as his real name, but anyway, that's what it is. Let's see. We've got a few more comments. So we talked about Emily, the bingo game. Okay. Ricey says, can he call himself and ask and answer his own questions? I don't think he can, from my understanding. I don't know how it will work, and I'm going to do more research on that. You're giving me more homework before Monday, and I'll try to figure this out for you. Mostly because, some states differ from one state to another, so I'm not as familiar with Wisconsin. But I think the state will ask him questions, and he might be able to basically give them a list of questions to ask him. Which is just bizarre, but this whole case is bizarre. I mean, the state's literally gone over and helped him several times, and it's crazy. Teresa says, Recovery Addict, I appreciate your explanations, clarifications, and viewpoints. Thank you. They are all my own, and they're worth exactly what you paid for them. So I'm glad you're getting your money's worth there. Risey says, can he call himself and ask and answer questions? We talked about that. I'm not sure. We're going to see that on Monday. Don't miss it. That is going to be amazing if he does that. He's just waiting for the rest of his life. Yes, he is. Koski06, thank you for the comment. Taylor Flock says, Wisconsin's definition of intent is pretty open. Jury instruction was aware that his conduct was practically certain to cause death or another human being. I think they have him. So if it's that wide, I would say that, at least in my mind, that evidence is sufficient to nail him on that. La says, something that I scrolled away from, you might enjoy. Okay, that was just a correction on the previous one. John Lucas says, when people refer to him as DB, how does he know they're speaking in capital letters? He doesn't. I've got a drink, guys, and it's going to be water, but we're going on 3 hours here. But when people refer to him as DB, how does he know he's referring to capital letters? Because he feels that everyone is referencing that original paperwork, because that's the official paperwork, the docket sheet. He feels that everyone's using that, and if they're reading from that, they're reading it in capital letters, which is not his name, apparently. That's his story, I think. Bill Barrett says, I think he testifies in the narrative rather than asking himself questions and answering them. Then he'll just answer whatever the prosecution asks. Okay, so that's where we get into free spool mode, where he just, opens his mouth and spews. If you saw earlier in the week, the judge, I think she kicked the jury out of the courtroom because he was complaining constantly and says, look, Mr. Brooks, just get it off your chest, out with it, basically. 50 minutes he ranted, and not any of it had to do with his actual defense. It was all the things that were wrong, everything that he was frustrated with that he thought should be changed. But that's it. I think so. So Bill, I think he might be right. He might have the ability just to tell his side of the story and then be questioned. But that questioning will be interesting because he's required to answer those questions. It's required as the judge can make him. He is clearly defiant in many other cases. Naughty Selt, is that it? Hasn't he connected Darrell Brooks with Darrell Brooks by electing to represent himself? Yes, he has, but the logic is bizarre. Did he decide recovery addict? Oh, I saw what you did there, Lorna Smith. You've got a R-E capital in recovery addict, and that's not my name. I refused. I did not give consent to be called recovery addict. I'm just joking with you there. Did he decide not to bring back his ex-girlfriend to the stand related to the sex assault charges in his past? The judge, I believe, ruled that examination was over. That's my understanding on that one, because he wouldn't bring up something beyond the questions that he was talking about past that happened since the incident of this trial. Kathleen, holy cow. How many witnesses does he have left? Kathleen, great question. Kathleen Hazy. We know he has his mom. He has the possibility of calling himself, and he did reserve the right to recall Detective Casey, and the judge honored that. So that's a possibility 3. And the judge may, if he brings up other names, may let him add to that list, because she really is quite lenient in that regard. Cough Hiccup says, I'm wondering why the DA didn't jump onto the fact that when he showed the apartment video, he asked Kirby to point out who is who, and Kirby identified him in the hoodie. I'd have to go watch and see that part of the Kirby testimony. I don't recall exactly what happened right there. Rob Z says, at the very least, gross negligence is clearly provable, right? There's I think lesser crimes have definitely been proven for sure. Ricey says, do you think this will be allowed to happen again, i.e. representing themselves, as I feel for everyone, in particular the victims' families? Thank you, first of all, Ricey, for writing in all caps. Darrell would appreciate that. It will happen again, and I believe it happens a lot. It's just it doesn't happen as much in these big cases. But I believe people represent themselves all the time, especially in smaller matters where it's more municipal court and things like that. And that's not a problem. I'm not against people exercising the right to defend themselves in court, to represent themselves. I just think it's not smart if you're facing life in prison or the death penalty to just wing it, with 3 days notice. Cough Hiccup says, I think it was said the DA would ask questions if he testifies. I believe that's correct. They would. He would be compelled to answer those questions as far as the judge can compel him. Who is the guy that sits on the prosecution side against the wall in the big chair? The blue suit. I think Carolyn came with that question. I believe his name was Casey. There's a time in one of the proceedings early on this week where the judge looked over at him and said, Casey. Is that just, does anyone else have that same recollection? I don't know what his role is, but I also think he looks like one of the brothers in Ocean's 11. That's just me though. Anyway, Recovery Addict, thank you for the channel. Keep going. You deserve getting rewarded. Oh no, it's great. I appreciate you guys being here. This is fun. I'm happy to share it with you guys. Glad you guys are enjoying it. Proudma02 says, could you imagine being a jury and not being able to discuss this case and hold it all inside? I would be a mental case. Yes. Can you imagine going home and looking at your spouse and just being like, oh my goodness, I just want to scream but yeah. The jury instructions that they read each day are basically you can't say anything to anyone. So we'll have at least 15 people who need some serious therapy after this. Darrell Brooks is a registered sex offender. Jay Hughes, yes, he is. And that's what the prosecution wants to bring up if that door gets opened. If he asks a witness something that lets out information about his past and why they're scared of him or what he's done in his past, the prosecution has said, we will bring that up, along with the fact that he also has a conviction for running someone over with his car. And if you do read his rap song or do listen to his rap song, I believe there's even a reference to not breaking in there. So, yeah. Okay, Chandra says, I predict his closing will be pure stream of consciousness. Yeah, he's just going to, he'll stand up and say, I don't have anything prepared, but, that's how it's going to go. Yomax, the diet-free zone, Yo-Yo Max, says, if you Google map his address, the red Ford Escape is parked out in front of his house. I don't recommend people do that, just because he doesn't live there. Someone else does, and they don't deserve to be harassed. But yeah, there's no question that the red Ford Escape is tied to him. It's in his rap video, too. That's his version of the Escalade. Cynthia Olson says, I love your page. So glad I found you. Love all the comments and your explanations. Well, Cynthia, like I said, they're worth exactly what you pay for them, and I appreciate you're getting your value. Taylor Flock, if they were referring to the gentleman sitting against the wall, he's the DA's investigator. DA Opper mentioned him in her response to DB's rant. Okay, the guy's a fine gentleman. He looks great. I appreciate him in the background. He's been constant in this court case. Why? Let's see. Why was he upset that the DA dropped that one charge of battery when he has all those other charges? That was weird. Okay, so Cough Hiccup, you have a great question there. You're asking about the time he said, "What about this charge? I've got this paper that says this didn't happen," right? So he's basically trying to use the fact that they dropped the charge of domestic abuse on the 20th, the day before the parade. They dropped that charge, and he's using that to say they tried to charge me with this, and then they didn't, and that didn't happen. Thus, they're lying, and the others didn't happen, as if we haven't seen the video. It's bizarre, but that's sort of like the line of questioning he was following on that. Oh, it keeps jumping on me here. Okay. High-speed drifter. This trial is the beauty and the beast. It is. Great analogy there. Couple more orange tags here. Jonathan Sosselman says, can he be found insane if he is cleared for trial or self-representing? I don't think he can be found insane. He's withdrawn that the guilty by, or insane, not guilty by way of insanity plea, the NGI plea. He's been found competent by in four medical examinations, mental examinations. I don't think they can find him insane just because he's a little bit bizarre in how he's handling his defense, which is his right. He can do it however he wants. All he had was a $100 bill in the video. Yeah, I think he folded it over and rubbed the ends together to make it look like they were two. That was his fat stacks of cash. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So Jay Hughes, yay! I caught up. I got drinks. That's what it was. I can drink because I caught up with the chat. Artifact Addict, got that? I think it is too late for the insanity plea. He is competent, although, it's. I don't think he should represent himself. It's just not the smartest move that he's made. Although he's got a history of not smart moves. Grounds. Okay. Guys, we've talked a lot about this. Monday is going to be the day to watch. It's going to be incredible. We're going to have, first of all, Darrell Brooks is wrapping up his side of the defense. He's going to be calling his mom to the stand, which it's going to be, good and bad sort of thing. It may give us our only glimpse at his motive, our only glimpse of what his defense might be. And so that's going to be very interesting, especially if there's testimony that's brought up, and it may even open the door. That still could happen with his mom, as she brings up other things. Anyway, you can make this charge a hate crime. Randy says, I'm not sure about that. The FBI was originally involved to see if it was a terrorism type situation, and they determined it wasn't, and so the FBI backed down, and that's why they were involved initially, and then they weren't at the end. Anyway, so he's going to call his mom to the stand. He has the right to testify in his own defense, so that may happen. He has reserved the right to recall Detective Casey, but I don't think he'll do that, honestly. And there is a chance he may try to add more witnesses to his list. The judge wants this case to be done in October. Okay, so we've got just 8 or 9 days left, but so we'll see. It's taken pretty much the whole month. Do you think the judge could add more issues with his outburst Friday, especially the comments he made in front of the jury about the judge? I don't think the judge will try to add more charges, basically because he's only facing charges relative to his actions on November 21st of 2021. Anything that happened before, and there were prior events that he is facing charges for, that's separate. And anything that happened after, or may have happened in this courtroom, if he threw something or injured someone or threatened someone, that's separate as well. This court case is strictly limited to the events of that date. I don't think she'll add anything to it. Cough Hiccup says, during the entire trial, he has thrown 5,000 pieces of spaghetti on the wall, hoping one will stick, and I don't see a plan. Yeah, they were all dry spaghetti. I don't think anything has stuck. A good lawyer never asks a question of a witness that they don't know the answer to. But every question Darrell has asked of every witness has been a surprise to him. So that's where we get. John Lucas says, thank you for being so responsive. Do we know anything about DB education and work history? Does he have a trade or profession? Let me put that up actually for you. I actually have a document to show you. we'll switch over here while I quickly find my document and put it up on the big screen. Okay, this document here, let me zoom in on that one. Oops, that's me. There we go. This is the top of his waiver of a right to attorney. And you can see on here that some of the first questions as he marks it down. He says, I'm 40 years old. I have completed 11 years of schooling. He says, I do have a high school diploma, GED or HESD. He said it was an HESD, a high school diploma, or HSED is what he said it was. He's not presently employed, but that's because for the last year he has been incarcerated. And he says he can read or write the English language. He's not currently receiving any treatment for emotional problems, but he has in the past. So that was all the judge showed us when we were looking at that document. That's all she provided. Anyway, that answers the question about his education. He's basically a high school graduate. So considering he's doing pretty well for a high school graduate. So Abby says, I found your channel. I'll be back on Monday. Your explanations are great. Bedtime for me. Abby, awesome. Thanks for joining. We love having you here. Bring a friend. You know, it's more fun with two people. Let's see here. He's off his meds, says PG. Let's see. High Speed Drift just said, I asked you a question. What did I miss, High Speed? When you asked me, did you speak to me with my natural name, or did you just ask me without using my name? He worked sheet metal. Yes, Lisa, you're right. He testified, or he talked in his interrogation. He talked about working at a sheet metal shop where basically he was taking formed metal, I think it was like rain gutter or housing parts or something, off of a line and just stacking them up. It was more like it's like a conveyor belt type work. Is what he did. Bill Barrett says, 3 said in the FBI interview he had been working for a sheet metal company. Yes, that's correct. That is absolutely 100% right. Thank you, Bill. Maria Filomonov says, Recovery Addict, will you be streaming the trial on Monday? Yes, I will. When I watch it live without content creators intervention, though, my blood pressure gets raised far too high. Yeah, I will be commentating. So if you like me talking over stuff and interrupting and giving my take on things, watch my channel. If you just want to see the raw channel, that's out there. If you want to just sit through the monotony of it, which some parts are, quite honestly, that's out there as well. So you're welcome to watch either one. But I think either one will be interesting. Lisa Champion says, why can't the prior running someone over be used to suggest a pattern of behavior? It can't, because that will prejudice the jury as to the facts of this matter. It's basically like saying, well, you did it in the past, so you probably did it this time. That would be coming in with a bias instead of just looking at the facts of this case and saying, are you guilty of the things that are charged in the way that it's spelled out based on the evidence that's been provided. But if that door opens, if Mr. Brooks opens that door, because he's the only one that can, the judge has ruled that the prosecution can't, and she's prevented, I think, 4 witnesses from opening that door. She's literally stopped people and saying, I'm not going to let you answer. In one case, there was a question asked to, I believe, a detective, and the detective looked at the judge, and you could see the look in his eyes like, can I? And she said, no, don't answer that. And he was very careful to not talk about prior convictions. But if that door gets opened, yes, then it's fair game. And of course, that's going to have an impact on the jury. New here, been fun. LDOT, thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone who has joined, I'd love it if you would subscribe to the channel. If you like what you see here, throw it a like, click the like button. If you don't like it, click the like button twice. Or you can click the dislike it button twice. That's probably what I meant to say. It's getting late. John Lucas says, thank you. Yes, certainly does have a very active mind, albeit with many misfiring neurons. With some training, he might have made something of his life. Very sad for everyone. It is sad. I'm more sad for the people who had no say in the outcome of these events than I am for him, because I believe he did make a choice, and the others didn't. It just happened to them. Lots of great questions there. I see a bunch on here, and let me tell you, we're gonna cover In the pretrial on Monday, we're going to cover background. We're going to cover a bunch of questions. I've got some homework. I'm going to try to do some research, especially on those shock ankle stuff. I want to see that. I'd love to have a video of how they work. So I'll be looking for that. Might be able to share that with you. High Speed Drifter comes back with a question. Says Brooks is doing a hatchet job on the judge because he keeps axing her questions. Yeah, but on Monday there's just going to be incredible stuff. You guys keep asking questions, so I keep answering them. So I'm sorry if I'm keeping you from bed, but this is important stuff. Lisa number 6 says they played the interrogation, and he admitted worried his life is over when they showed his face and his SUV during the parade. Right, and that's the sort of sorrow that my kids have for getting caught. They're not sorry for what they did wrong. They're not sorry for breaking the window. They're just sorry that I caught them, that they broke the window. I think that's what we saw from him. Jay Hughes says, thank you. I like your smooth voice, easy on my ears. Thank you for your knowledge. I'll be back on Monday. Lovely, Jay Hughes. I appreciate you. I'm probably going to make a couple of you mods on Monday just because as the trial gets going, it does get sort of crazy in here, and we get some wackos that just start posting weird junk. I don't know. You can't have a nice, fun place on the internet without weird people showing up for some reason. Recovery Addict, just subscribed. Jazzed to have a group to watch, talk about with. I've been raving to my friends this past week, a few days since I discovered it. Awesome. Thanks, Robs. John Lucas says, I agree with everything you said. Wonderful. Let's see. If you're not a lawyer, how do you know so much about what's going on? Lisa, great question. I am not a lawyer. I'll say this over and over. I'm not a lawyer. I have a really unique hobby. And as a kid, to give you an example, when I was in junior high, I read every single bill that was presented in my state legislature that year. That's something that I believe none of the elected legislatures could claim they had done. I like laws. I like studying it. I like reading about them. I like the legal ramifications. I like figuring out how it affects me and finding the little loopholes here and there. I'm not a criminal. I don't have a criminal record. I like doing that, and it's fun for me. And so because of that, I've had a lot of experience analyzing the law. And so I'm a professional analyst. I'm not a legal professional directly. Maria Filimov says, "Why can't I super chat you?" I'll figure that out for Monday as well, because we might need to make that able. I'm not doing this for money. I don't think my channel's monetized. I'm pretty sure it's not. Maybe it's a setting I haven't set. I just like this. Just background on me. I've told you I like metal detecting. I went to school for video production, and I've worked in news media. I've been a videographer for the police. I've done fun stuff. I've filmed everything from car crashes and hot air balloon rides to, ultimate fighting. I love everything camera related. I love everything streaming related. A little bit of a Mac nut. I've got just about everything Apple's produced, and that's why my bank account's empty. But just because of this is just something I love doing. So I thought I'd share it. It's just fun for me that way. But I think I might have missed an orange thing. Let's see. Mary Kay says, I want 18 pairs of shock bracelets for my grandkids. Oh man, maybe that's the prize. I'll have to get like some shock bracelets and for the winner for whatever our contest is, maybe we can give them some shock bracelets. Why can't laws prevent things like this from happening, says PG. Yeah, why did somebody do that? It's against the law. Laws don't stop crime, unfortunately. Let's see so that was the Lisa's question. Thanks for asking that, Lisa. We'll find out about the super chat. I'm not sure if that'll work or not. We'll see if we can get that working for Monday. Let's see. Is there anything else? It keeps jumping. I'm scrolling. If I miss somebody, ask it again. But Jay Hughes, now that you're over 1K, you can monetize, etc. I've been monetized before. I've had multiple social media channels. I've sold videos to. You binge Scott's videos after I discovered him. I've sold videos to like Fail Army, things like that. I've done a lot of that. I've filmed police shootings and things like that. So I've had my share of camera work for money and social media for money. And I guess if it takes a lot of time, I might consider consider doing that, but that's not the purpose of why I'm here. I just want to share this because I love it, and I appreciate you guys liking it and having questions and being involved and everything. And most huge shout out to my moderators. Going to make a few more of you moderators for sure. Just you guys have great insights. You have interesting questions, and that's really what makes this whole thing fly. I can't just talk forever without this this interaction, this back and forth. So it's just a fun community to be part of, and so I appreciate you guys being here and supporting the stream. So thank you. You guys are wonderful. You really are. Recovery addicts. He had a small bit in a documentary a few years ago about people with meth problems. Just search Darrell Brooks prison interview about meth from Crystal Darkness documentary. I do believe there's a history of some substance abuse of some sort. If you notice on his hands, if you look on his knuckles, if you get a shot of both knuckles, across his right hand it says 100%, and on the left hand it says blow, which I believe is a reference to cocaine, like pure cocaine or pure, something like that. It's like a rap type or a street type reference, but yeah, definitely. He doesn't seem to shy away from that environment. Any other trials you were following? Yes, but I'm not going to share them yet because there are a couple. Quite honestly, there's a couple, and because it's later, my kids are no longer listening. I'll tell you this: there's a couple trials that involve rape that I'm not going to follow. I do like to follow some of the larger trials that have a little bit of notoriety to them. Because it's easier for me to gain access to the feeds that way. Some of the requests trying to get video footage from some of these backwoods country courts it's like pulling teeth, and so I'm working on that. Obviously, there's not always a trial going. I wish there was, because I would be in heaven. But yeah. Miguel Gerard says, addict, what if he never decides to have the defense rest and just brings up old stuff? Well, Miguel, luckily, under 806.11, the judge has discretion as to how the court proceeds in the court process, and she can say this is stalling. This is you're not moving forward. You're not presenting any evidence. You're not doing anything useful. So under that, I'm going to exercise my authority and order you to move on, or I'm to declare this phase closed. So he can't stall forever. He can't just filibuster his way to freedom. But I do imagine he will try to use all the time he possibly can. Lisa was shocked that there were no drugs found on his arrest. I'll tell you, while I was live streaming on Thursday, I believe it was, yeah, or maybe it was Wednesday. While I was live streaming, there was a bust that happened literally on the corner right outside my house. Cop cars were flying by. People were throwing stuff out of the car into the bushes, and it was crazy. But I was here and didn't see any of it. It was 20 feet away. 906.11, grounds. Yep. Okay. 806.11. 906.11. It's been so late, I don't know. If I did test you passed and I failed. So thank you for catching me on that. It will not be the last mistake I make. I can promise you that. No filibusters for murders. No drugs. Okay, thanks, guys. Look, I'm going to have to get a little bit of rest. So let's give me 24 hours, 48 hours. 24 hours to get ready for Monday, because it's going to be a long day, and it's going to be crazy. We're going to have a lot to talk about. I'm going to get some of the videos and things and questions answered that you've raised here, and hopefully we'll get that sorted out and be able to continue the conversations that we started that I don't have the answers to. I will say, right up front that I am not the smartest guy in the room, but I know how to use Google. And I know how to find accurate information on the web. Just because it's on the web doesn't mean it's true. But I'm pretty good at researching. I like reading papers too, like scientific papers. Is that weird? Don't unfriend me because I do this. A couple more comments. Taylor Flock says, FYI, about Wisconsin's death penalty history, we only had one execution via hanging in 1853. 3,000 attended. Took 5 minutes to die. It disturbed people enough. It's been banned since. I didn't know that. That is incredible. That 3,000 people attended. First of all, hanging is often not the quick death that the movies portray it to be. Let's see. Wow, that is good to know. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. I wish you could do the J6ers trials. Let me look at that. I don't know. I'm going to save that note. Because if you know of a trial that isn't like high profile, but maybe you want me to follow, I can research and see if I can gain access to their camera feeds, and depending on what it is, I'll do it. I don't want to do cases that have a lot of I don't want to do rape cases. Let's put it that way. It's hard enough doing a case like this with people that have died, just because I do believe that even in dark situations, it's sometimes is helpful and to look at the lighter side. I don't want to do that in any way that would offend someone, and so I'm trying to be respectful in everything I do, but at the same time, I think we can joke a little bit, and just as people, we can accept the facts as they are, and still say, my heart breaks for those families, and at the same time, I can sort of say, but I need to move on. I can't constantly be in tears because of that, and I can laugh a little bit when something funny happens. But anyway, it can be frustrating to see how much leeway she gives him. But again, I think she's demonstrated that she's more than capable of controlling her courtroom, and is again just. Robsy, yes, you're right. Just exhibiting an abundance of caution in ensuring his ability to represent himself freely and fairly. So that was a two-part statement. Great job tagging me in both of them, Robsy. I think you've earned yourself moderator status. I'm going to make that happen right now. Congratulations, or my condolences, depending on how you view that. But I appreciate the great work you've been doing here today. Lisa says, this has been really interesting. Thank you so much for all the information and your humanity and fairness. We'll be checking in next time. Thanks, Lisa. That's awesome. Love having you guys here. Congrats over getting 1,000 subs. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been a long time coming. It's been years on this channel. My other ones have done better. I think on TikTok I'm up to like 24,000 or so. But that's TikTok. So let's see. January 6th would lead to headaches in the comments. Yeah, okay. That's what you're referring to. Yeah, I obviously participate in the political process, and I encourage everyone, even the people who vote the opposite the way I do, to participate as well. I think that in politics, more involvement brings better results. So I'm not just trying to just push one side. I really do think that we as a people are better together than any group of us are separated. And so I do encourage that way. I won't be getting heavily into political issues. It'd be tough. It would be tough to do J6 for that. I didn't make the connection. It's obviously my brain is asleep already. I didn't make the connection. That's what you were talking about, the J6 trials. Cough hiccup. That Alex Murdaugh case should be wild too, but not in the Darrell Brooks way. Yeah. His mom will not be his witness. She will be hit with the recording of him and her on the phone about the pictures, only if he opens the door. David, this is what I'm thinking. The prosecution basically just gave us a precursor, a quick view into what they would do if that door gets opened, which I don't think it has. It's been close. It's been really close. We had a witness that talked about his rap sheet twice. That didn't open the door. But if he directly asks a question that solicits this information from someone, I think the judge is to the point where she's warned him enough, and if he does it after she warns him again, I think the door will then be opened, and then we'll see that. John Lucas says, I wish some would tell DB that he's not an alleged defendant. He's an alleged killer. He is an actual defendant. See you on Monday. Have a good rest. Yes, I'm going to nominate you, John, to let him know. I'll send you his jail address. Okay. Cynthia Olson, what state are you in? I'm in North Carolina. I live in Wisconsin, not far from Jeffrey Dahmer's grandmother's house and close to where the parade incident happened. We just need to be hitting the headlines. Yeah, it's crazy. And I know like Court TV, for instance, is replaying the Dahmer trials here soon if they haven't started already. I'm not sure if I could stomach that. Did I just go there? I did. I just went there. I said I couldn't stomach it. Okay, anyway, I'm definitely not going... sorry. I put a not in there. I'm definitely going to sub. Great contact recovery addict. Thank you, Michigan Rob. I appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate all the subs. It's wonderful. PG says now on to 100K. No rush. I mean, really, too many of us, and I can't read all your comments. Don't curse me with that. But you guys, I most wholeheartedly thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys taking interest in the judicial process. I mean, this is important. This is an important part of our country. It's an important part of our civic duty. You never know when, the jury summons will come for you next. And maybe perhaps that our information here, our discussion here might just help you in that case. So just help your understanding. Wilson, North Carolina, Leon King. I'm not far from Wilson. I'm close. Let's put it this way. I'm very close to where Mr. Beast is located. If you're familiar with Mr. Beast on YouTube, your kids probably are. If you aren't, I'm very close to that. I'll put it this way. My kids have been in some of Mr. Beast's videos. That's how close I am. Anyway, yuck, no Dahmer. You guys have been amazing. I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you so much for joining. It's you've got some comments here. I'll try to comment. I don't know how many comments we've had, but there have been a ton. I'll try to pick out the questions of some of you have raised and try to answer them on Monday. If not, please join me on Monday and ask me again. Tagging me is obviously the best way to get my attention. Like Jonathan Sossaman just did, said, I got involved in these trials after the Depp v. Heard trial. That was crazy. That was absolutely bizarre. And I will say on that trial, the judge let the drama really enter the courtroom quite a bit. There was quite a bit of leeway given to the prosecution, and it was just, this judge has been much more strict in how the questions are asked on direct and indirect. Anyway, guys, you're amazing. You guys are the true heroes. Keep doing what you're doing. Please stay safe. Give a hug to everybody you love, and smile. It makes somebody's day. Thank you so much. We'll catch you guys on the next one. We'll see you.